The scene starts with the phone ringing, and it's the same dream Jaesin had again, about a girl who said that she would be waiting for him. Jaesin picks up the call, and his friend asks if Jaesin is sleeping again and teases him, saying his books don't sell because he's lazy like that. Annoyed, Jaesin snaps back, saying it's none of his business. Jaesin's friend jokes that since Jaesin answered, it means he's still alive. He mentions some alarming news about kids disappearing and says he thought he'd give him a call. He reminds Jaesin to always lock his friend's door at night, making Jaesin furious, warning that he'll hang up if he doesn't have anything important to say. Jaesin's friend insists there's a reason he called, to which Jaesin replies not to bother him if it's just to nag or to work with his sight. Jaesin's friend clarifies that's not the case. He says something feels off and asks what's wrong with his sight. Jaesin complains that all the jobs from the company pay too little, even though they're tough, and he asks his friend not to involve his friends in running a small site, saying it's like expecting him to work for free. Jaesin's friend teases him, saying he's cold-hearted. He admits the company doesn't have much money, but reminds Jaesin that he's about to get kicked out for not paying rent. He questions if Jaesin is really in a position to refuse jobs just because they don't pay well. Jaesin replies that he's not passionate enough to work for little money. Jaesin's friend sarcastically praises him, saying that's exactly why he doesn't have many friends. He adds that he's the only one nice enough to stay friends with Jaesin, and even at the Angel Orphanage, Jaesin only ever talked to the director and no one else. Jaesin's friend says it was nice seeing everyone at the orphanage, and he called Jaesin for a favor, just to cover one day of work. He informs that someone bailed on a part-time job at his friend's company, and they need someone to move a few things for a day. Jaesin brushes it off, saying he can't be bothered. But Jaesin's friend insists, mentioning that they'll pay twice the usual wage and asking if he'll do it. Jaesin reflects that his friend annoys him, but since he's behind on rent, it's about time he starts making money. As he walks away, an old woman approaches and points at him, offering a divination reading. She promises it will blow his mind. Jaesin flinches and declines, saying he doesn't believe in superstition. The old woman insists it isn't superstition and tries to convince him, but Jaesin refuses again. Jaesin adds that divination itself isn't superstition, for which the old woman smirks and tells him not to be so grumpy, offering a free reading. She adds that if she's right, he should come back to see her. Although Jaesin doesn't want a reading, the old woman tells him that the thing he's looking for is hidden in a hole between the roots of a tree. Jaesin retorts that he isn't looking for anything, but the woman cryptically suggests there must be something he's searching for. Frustrated, Jaesin leaves, thinking it was a waste of time. At the job site, Jaesin starts working. While resting, a girl offers him a cold drink, thanking him for his help. As she leaves, her colleague jokes that the drink came with interest, but the girl insists she only gave it because Jaesin looked exhausted. The colleague remarks that she's never shown this kind of interest in anyone before, while Jaesin mentally counts down the 4 hours left, wishing time would move faster. While working, Jaesin overhears a heated conversation. A supervisor scolds the girl for losing a USB drive with an important client list, ordering everyone to search for it immediately. He warns the team not to mess up since they have a big event next week. The college stops Jaesin, telling him to drop what he's doing and help find the USB. As everyone searches, some complain that it's impossible to find something so small in such a large space. Jaesin notices footsteps leading to a hole beneath a tree and spots strange marks on the ground. He recalls the old woman's words and wonders if the USB could be inside the hole. Curious, he looks inside and finds the missing USB. The scene shifts to the old woman welcoming Jaesin back. She asks what he's curious about, and Jaesin confesses that he's been having a recurring dream. He explains that the dream has lasted so long that he can't remember when it started. In the dream, he meets a girl at the same place, but he can't see her face or remember her name. She always tells him the same thing, that she'll wait for him. Jaesin admits he knows nothing about her, but wants to find out who she is and where she might be. The old woman bluntly responds that she has no clue. She scoffs, questioning how she's supposed to find someone he doesn't even know the name of, and asks if this is his first time trying divination. Jaesin steps back, unsettled. The old woman advises him to return with the girl's name and birth date if he wants a proper reading. If not, she offers to read something else for him. Jaesin wonders if this is all just a scam. Standing up, he tells her that he doesn't need a reading and prepares to leave. The old woman sarcastically asks if he's walking around without his other eyes, confusing Jaesin. He insists that his eyes are working fine, pointing to the ones on his face. The old woman asks if he has another pair of eyes, ones that can see the truth. Jaesin asks, what kind of eyes is she talking about? Suddenly, a memory resurfaces, sending shivers down Jaesin's spine. He demands to know how she knows about that and urges her to tell him more. The old woman cryptically replies that he must always carry those eyes with him, warning that he'll need them for the path he's on. Without them, he could die. She advises him only to trust what he sees with those eyes, as they will help him survive. The old woman reminds him of the person he's searching for and urges him to stop running from his destiny if he truly wants to find her. She then asks Jaesin to give her his hands. Curious but wary, Jaesin extends his hands, asking, "What is she doing?" The old woman replies that she hopes this will help him. Jaesin notices her demeanor shifting slightly and wonders what's going on with her. Then, the old woman bluntly tells him it's time to pay her fee. Confused, Jaesin questions whether everything was just his imagination. Reluctantly, he hands over his credit card to settle the fee. Back at home, Jaesin opens a drawer and pulls out a pair of glasses, thinking that it's the first time he's taken them out in a long time. He hasn't worn them since that day. Just as he's about to put them on, his phone rings. It's his friend. Jaesin answers, asking, "What is it this time?" The scene shifts to a restaurant, where the girl thanks Jaesin for letting her contact him. She mentions that she couldn't properly thank him yesterday because things were too hectic. She tells him she would have been in trouble without his help, to which Jaesin replies that it was nothing and that he only stumbled upon the situation by chance. The girl states that she heard it was hidden under a tree. She questions how he even placed it there, questioning how did he know it was in such a spot. Jaesin brushes it off, saying it's a good question, but not really important. The girl explains that she contacted him to treat him to dinner as a way of thanking him for his help. She adds that the cafe is also a gallery and that just a coffee would suffice. The girl smiles, saying someone is calling her, and asks him to wait a moment. She suggests he explore the second floor, where many artworks are on display. As Jaesin climbs the stairs, he recalls a vague conversation with his friend. He advised that he should let her treat him as a token of gratitude. Think of it as building a new connection. Still, Jaesin thinks she shouldn't have gone through the trouble, though it's not like he has anywhere else to be. While walking up the stairs, Jaesin muses that he doesn't really understand art. It just isn't for him. However, the sight of an old building with a couple of children standing in front catches his eye. A particular drawing seems oddly familiar. He remembers the girl from his dreams and wonders if this could be the place he had been dreaming about all along. The children in front of him appear unusually small. Unable to see them clearly, Jaesin pulls out his glasses. Although skeptical that it will help, he puts them on, hoping for a better view. Just then, the girl reappears, asking if he's interested in the piece and complimenting his eye for art. Jaesin asks if she knows anything about the artwork. Jaesin sees the girl as a sparrow, who replies with a grin that she was the one who brought it in. The uneasiness in Jaesin grows. Her voice sounds eerily similar to the woman from before. The demon explains that the canvas originally belonged to Jung Seonhwa and recounts the legend behind it. According to the story, an enlightened immortal created the artwork for a mischievous fairy who could move freely in and out of the painting. It's said that young men who followed the fairy inside would wander the painting forever. The figures within the artwork, the demon claims, might even be alive. It's so realistic that they seem to exist beyond the canvas. Jaesin's gaze falls on her toes. They match the strange footprints he had seen earlier. Suspicion creeps in. He recalls an old woman's advice that he have another pair of eyes. Use them to see the truth and speak only what those eyes reveal. The demon notices his hesitation and asks if something is wrong. Jaesin responds that he was just thinking about how difficult it must be for her to live among humans. Her puzzled reaction makes him wonder if he has said too much. After a moment, the demon gives him a curious look. She asks if he is also a demon. Then, she admits that she initially thought he was an ordinary human who had figured out she stole the USB and was planning to get rid of him. Now, she realizes he isn't exactly human either. Jaesin tries to remain calm, though fear grips him. He remarks that it's understandable, trying to sound nonchalant. Still, he asks her about the temple-like structure depicted in the painting. The demon corrects him, saying it's called the Orchid Temple. She adds, with a smirk, that it's strange he doesn't know about the Orchid Temple, remarking what an odd demon he is. Jaesin admits that he had forgotten what the temple looked like, as it's been a long time since he saw it. He then asks if the people inside the painting are real. The demon confirms it with a sly grin that all the small humans he sees are the ones she has collected. She adds that it took her a while, but it's worth it saying that small humans are cute. Horror washes over Jaesin. He realizes that the figures in the painting are indeed alive. One of them moves, confirming his worst fear. He remembers a conversation with a friend about the alarming news of children going missing in the area. Determined to act, Jaesin resolves to save the children. He asks the demon if there is a way to release them from the painting, disguising his concern as curiosity. The demon narrows her eyes. She asks suspiciously that he is a human. Jaesin freezes, and in that moment, the demon slams him against the painting with surprising strength. She sneers that he stinks at lying. She adds that he even asked how to free them. She admits that only young Seonhwa knows how to release the captives and reveals that she intended to trap him inside the artwork from the very beginning. She mentions that everything's working out perfectly, pushing him further into the painting. As Jaesin feels himself being pulled into the canvas, he remembers the girl from his dreams. Refusing to give up, he grabs the demon's hand, determined that he won't give up, not until he finds that person. Strange markings appear on his arms, terrifying the demon. The demon shrieks in panic, screaming that it's the curse. She bolts through the window, screaming that it will spread to her. Jaesin stares at the strange markings on his arms, trying to understand what just happened. He recalls the old woman's words and realizes that whatever she did has saved him. He also remembers his mother's advice that he doesn't need to blame himself for everything. This time, it's not her fault. Determined to save the children, Jaesin slams his hand against the painting, and to his surprise, it sinks into the canvas. He feels something solid and pulls out a child from the artwork. He thinks in disbelief that he saved them. Later, the news reports that the missing children were found at the cafe gallery. However, the investigation is complicated by conflicting accounts from the children. With the security cameras malfunctioning, Jaesin is relieved that there's no mention of him. It would have been a nightmare if he had been mistaken for the abductor. Still thinking about the strange markings on his arms, Jaesin decides to find the mysterious fortune teller. He needs answers, but when he arrives at her usual spot, she is nowhere to be found. An old man passing by notices his confusion and asks if he's looking for someone. Jaesin asks about the fortune teller, who usually sets up her stall there. The old man shakes his head, stating that he has been here for 10 years and he has never seen anyone like that. Jaesin insists that he saw her just a few days ago, a woman with flashy accessories. But the old man shrugs to decline that he doesn't know what he is talking about. No one set up a stall here in years. Jaesin wonders if the old man is playing a trick on him. Sensing his doubt, the old man smiles kindly, stating that he is telling the truth. The scene shifts in a house to an injured person who is huffing, crying, and scared out of his wits. He's chased by a black figure calling for him, and as the man hides behind the woods, suddenly the woman extends her neck, finding him as she creepily smiles, ready to chomp down on his face. The scene shifts to the police asking about the area. The police officer asks the old woman why nobody lives here and suggests that it's probably just some homeless people fighting, to which the old woman replies that it really did sound like someone dying. The police officer says they can't go in because it's not their section, moving away and boarding the car, stating that she can't keep calling like this. Nearby, people whisper about how many times this has happened, with someone going in and then disappearing. Suddenly, an old man interrupts them, telling them to be quiet and saying that if people hear about this, no one will come to live here. He asks them not to talk about it, but all the news about the incident is published as he moves to a divination reader. The old woman tells him that he will definitely find the guy he's looking for and will also find a fated partner here, urging him not to let that partner go, no matter what. After that, she asks for her fees, which Jaesin pays. The scene shifts as the cargo driver asks Jaesin if he has checked all of them, to which Jaesin verifies that he has. The driver asks him to hop on, as they have to get there before it gets dark. He questions why Jaesin has so many books, wondering if he's a teacher. Jaesin declines, stating he's not a teacher, to which the driver asks why he has so many books and if he's trying to eat them. Jaesin, annoyed, asks if he's not allowed to collect them. The driver responds that he should use that money to buy a nice house instead of books, and questions why he would move there of all places. The driver then asks if he even knows where that is, mentioning that another guy went missing a few days ago. Jaesin replies that the driver doesn't have to worry about him, saying he's actually not human. He's a book fairy. Upon reaching the destination, the driver announces that this is the promised Orchid special ghost house, noting that he heard nobody else came here after the last guy ran away. Seeing the spooky house, the driver asks if he's scared and offers to help him go back for a cheap price. Jaesin declines, asking him to unload his stuff and assuring him that it's all right, as ghosts don't hurt people. The driver comments that he is brave and guesses no one will stop him if he wants to live here. The driver asks to be paid, to which Jaesin asks if he can pay with a credit card. The driver declines, saying he won't take it even if Jaesin is a fairy. Taking the cash, the driver wishes him a nice life, asking him to give him a call whenever he moves out, remarking that he doesn't know why Jaesin is trying to live in a house with ghosts and monsters. Jaesin calls out to the driver, stopping him, and asks what he just said. The driver says he's talking about living in the ghost house, claiming that there are monsters here, shocking Jaesin. The landowner, Ma Bong-pil, comes running toward Jaesin, saying he was planning to come earlier today. He asks if everything is all right and if Jaesin has suffered any discomfort. Jaesin says he will see if it's uncomfortable after he starts living here and questions if ghosts are really the only things here. The landowner gets scared, asking what he means, insisting that there are no ghosts here. Jaesin urges him not to hide it, saying that everyone already knows about the promised Orchid Street and that there are ghosts here. The landowner tries to deny it, saying there's no way and that they are all fake rumors. Jaesin pushes, asking, for example, about specters. The landowner questions how Jaesin knows about them, claiming that all the ghosts are the only things that live here. Suspicious of this, Jaesin feels that something else is wrong and contemplates going back, but he has already moved his stuff out and has no money. The landowner insists on making Jaesin stay. But suddenly Jaesin notices numerous people staring at him, but leaves when he sees them. Jaesin questions if it's because he's moving to the ghost house, and if they might know something. As Jaesin takes out his credit card to pay, the landowner shoves it away, insisting he take the cash. At night, while unloading his boxes, Jaesin curses that even the ghost house doesn't accept cards, and that he hates calculating taxes with cash. After dealing with everything, Jaesin thinks that the place really is big for the cheap price, but remembering the driver's words, he grows scared that if there are monsters, there must be specters. Jaesin tells himself that he shouldn't be saying that, as it will become true if he does. Putting on his glasses, Jaesin decides he should check just in case, planning to leave immediately if he finds something. Upon opening various rooms and bathrooms, he finds nothing. As he reaches the stairs, he wonders if there was always a second floor up there. Moving upstairs, Jaesin discovers an attic and thinks it doesn't seem to be used. He questions that the last guy did not use the attic. He notices a pipe-like object stabbed into the roof. Jaesin questions why his wrist hurts, thinking about the bird, and wonders if it was really cursed and if he should just leave now. Moving downstairs, he reminds himself that he has already paid and doesn't have money for another house anyway. He reflects that he didn't come here just because it's cheap. Noticing that the yard is really large as well, he thinks he should check it out, but scared to do it alone, he resolves to do that in the morning. At midnight, a portal opens behind him as the clock ticks. Jaesin all woke up on the sofa, thinking he had slept for about 4 hours. He wonders why it isn't bright already, only to realize that only 15 minutes have passed. He curses himself, thinking he should just work through the night, questioning why he would do 2 painful things at once. For 30 minutes he stares into the refrigerator, contemplating checking something out, preferably ghosts rather than specters. Upon hearing a sound, Jaesin thinks the town should be pretty far away and questions why he hears bells. Jaesin follows the sound and sees people moving outside. He wonders if there is an event at this time, thinking that if there isn't, he should at least see it. Wearing his glasses, he looks through and sees various monsters in disguise of people. He thinks, of course, it is the specters. The scene shifts to a flashback where a disgusting creature comments to the little Jaesin that he looks human, questioning if he's a spectre or a human. It warns that it will kill him if he is human and demands an answer, claiming to hate humans. Jaesin regains consciousness, feeling like he's about to throw up, while an old man at the event remarks that in one more day, the ceremony will be held. He advises not to think about running, stating that no matter where she goes, she will always be within his grasp. Jaesin realizes he needs to calm down, thinking that he didn't expect them to come out in a group, so the street is used by the specters. He thinks he should be fine as long as he's here, but worries that there are too many, reminding himself that he just needs to stay focused and shouldn't die. Jaesin thinks he has to quietly wait for morning and that they shouldn't come in here. Seeing a girl downstairs, Jaesin questions how that's possible since he should have locked the door. Suspecting she's a ghost, Jaesin thinks that ghosts wouldn't make such sounds. Then the girl makes eye contact with Jaesin. Jaesin thinks he has to calm down, trying nervously to put on his glasses while Jaesin is called out, and the girl extends her head, drooling blood through her mouth. Jaesin realizes that he is a goner now, and he runs down the stairs, crashing against the wall. He prays that she isn't a ghost, but the demon moves upstairs toward him. Jaesin realizes that she's a spectre. He wears his glasses to see a faint blue light coming from her legs, thinking there's something down there, but it's too dark to see. He calmly moves toward her. He nervously comments that she has a very long neck and seems familiar, asking if they have met before, but Jaesin barely dodges the specter's attack. He thinks that it doesn't work and that she doesn't even care, but the specter appears right beside him. He realizes that she's too fast and barely dodges the specter's bite. The specter kicks him, throwing him through the air in an attempt to apprehend him. The girl calls out for Jaesin. Jaesin realizes that he can't get out and cries for help. Just then, a stick stuck into the roof burst through and penetrated the specter, causing it to scream in pain. Jaesin questions what has happened, running downstairs, determined that he should get out. But reaching the gate, Jaesin realizes that there are specters outside the gate. He remembers that he has forgotten there are specters outside as well, cursing himself for coming here and resolving to leave the moment the sun is up. He thinks that there's no point in dying here. The scene shifts as an old priest comments that the full moon is tomorrow, and they should be able to perform the ritual then. After the ritual, she will finally be part of the king. He adds that the king has collected multiple souls for even greater knowledge, so even with her meager power, they can use it effectively, thanking her on behalf of everyone. He compliments her and insists she should do her job before the full moon and get another human as an offering for the king. Sokian thinks that the end is near, and with one more day, it will all be over. The scene shifts to Jaesin, who is trying to call out but is unable to due to the area's problems. He thinks that he was able to call this morning. He curses himself, realizing it was a mistake to think that there were only ghosts here. Recalling the girl from his dreams, Jaesin thinks that he hoped to see her if he came here, questioning if he could meet her even if she were a ghost. He recalls that he came as soon as he heard about this place, but it took him a while because of the cautious people and for this place to be recognized as a spectral territory. Suddenly he remembers that he forgot his glasses, cursing that he can't lose them and wondering what he should do. Jaesin barely sneaks into the house, now spotting his glasses. He moves toward them to retrieve them and notes that he stepped on something, realizing it's a piece of rock, but feels a faint presence beside him. He thinks he definitely felt something and sees the object that had penetrated the ground. Jaesin questions if it could be from the thing that stabbed the specter. He pulls it out, thinking that it's much lighter than it looks, and no matter how much he examines it, it's just a dull stick. He wonders where she ran off to with this. Jaesin throws it away, but it makes quite a loud bang, sounding heavy. He tries again, but it seems to have a substantial weight. Jaesin realizes that it has very unique physics and decides to keep it for a while. In the morning, Jaesin questions why he can't move today. The driver responds that he told him he has many things to do. Jaesin asks if he can come today even if it's late, but the driver declines, asking why he would go out there at night. Jaesin pleads, but the driver insists he will go the day after and says he should have listened to him that day. Jaesin tries to plead with him again, stating that he has to come, but the driver, calling him Mr. Fairy, tells him to prepare cash for tomorrow and ends the call. Jaesin curses himself, realizing that he is low on money and can't even ask other people for help. From behind, the landowner is surprised that Jaesin is alive, which makes Jaesin furious. He questions whether the landowner knows about the specters, to which the landowner asks him to be quiet and inquires about the marks, questioning if he really fought them. The landowner apologizes, asking Jaesin to please continue living here for a long time, but Jaesin declines, stating that he wants to leave tomorrow. The landowner pleads with him, offering $1 million if he does this, but Jaesin declines. The landowner insists he will triple that amount, which catches Jaesin's attention since it's too much money to simply reject. Jaesin agrees to at least hear him out, and the landowner explains that the promised Orchid temple is on top of a hill and has been left behind, suggesting that it's not really a temple anymore. He explains that people have been disappearing there for a while, but the police don't care since it's empty and about to be redeveloped. The people who disappeared were all homeless, but then it gained fame online, making residents worried about the worth of their houses decreasing. A resident claimed she heard strange sounds around there just yesterday, stating that people always disappear. The landowner adds that there was one person who didn't die, just like Jaesin. Apparently, that person saw a ghost at the temple, a lady with long hair and strange clothes, and the landowner shivers, insisting she must be a ghost. Jaesin pleads with the landowner to chase the ghost away, but he waves him off, saying he believes he will move out. Jaesin can't believe what he just did, thinking about the long-haired lady in strange clothes. He questions what he should do at night. At night in bed, Jaesin thinks that he was planning to leave immediately, but it became dark while he was thinking. He guesses he will have to sleep here tonight. Jaesin tries to sleep but can't, waking up repeatedly, around 100 times. After a while, he thinks that he can get out tomorrow anyway, and there's no guarantee he will see the ghost there as well. If he were to see a spectre like that again, he would just die. He stands up, realizing that there's no point in going there, and that it's not like he has a way to fight back. Seeing the stick nearby, Jaesin takes it out and moves toward the gate, thinking he would just take a peek and nothing should happen. However, as he walks down the road, a golden eye chases him as he walks. Jaesin questions whether it really is her, and wonders if the reason she appeared in his dreams is that he is her next sacrifice. As he continues down the road, he thinks it's strange and that he should just be after this mound, but he still can't see it. Jaesin questions why he feels like he's walking in circles, sensing a bright light coming from the temple. From the light beaming from the temple, he can't believe it's the same building from the drawings. Suddenly, the door opens on its own, startling Jaesin. He questions who is inside as he walks down the stairs. He wonders if it might be a ghost or perhaps a spectre. Remembering the girl from his dreams, he opens the door to see a beautiful girl waiting for him. She smiles at Jaesin, and he realizes that it's a different girl with a different face. Sokian stands up, approaching Jaesin. He thinks that she is not the person he's looking for, and that he has to leave right now, but for some reason, he can't move. Sokian gets close to Jaesin, and he questions why he can't move. She reveals her fangs as if to bite him, but suddenly sensing the blue marks on his arms, she steps back. Sokian asks what that is and what hour it is, questioning if he's there to kill her. She asks who he is, to which Jaesin snaps back to reality, apologizing for coming there. He realizes the sound is the same as when she called him Mr. The girl from last night. Jaesin realizes it's her, and that she really followed him. He apologizes to her, explaining that it seems she followed him, and he will take care of it. Sokian is left baffled, wondering why he isn't after a suspicious man holding a sword with amazing power, but he claims that he will take care of the spectre. Meanwhile, Jaesin is running from the spectre, which is wreaking havoc in the chamber. Jaesin asks the spectre to move away, unconsciously dashing towards it to slice it, but the spectre elongates its head to throw Jaesin off. Sokian questions what's with these horrible skills and asks if he's not an exorcist. She questions, how can a human who is not an exorcist wield such a sword? The spectre tries to attack Sokian while Jaesin intervenes to block it, stating that she is not its opponent, but the spectre tries to crush him down. However, Jaesin throws the stick away and tries to slash it, causing its hand to fall down. Jaesin questions Sokian about what he should do, asking if this counts as self-defense. Sokian replies that she doesn't know what he's talking about, but he just has to pay attention. Jaesin realizes that the arm has disappeared and reappeared back into the spectre's body. He questions that he definitely cut her, as the spectre transforms into a horrifying creature standing in front of him. Jaesin realizes that he's doomed as it gets bigger, questioning what he should do. Sokian informs Jaesin that there is a main body, stating that specters don't get bigger, and what he sees is just an illusion created by it. She explains that it doesn't take damage, and there is a main body somewhere within that he has to aim for. Sokian asks if he knows how to fight, to which Jaesin declines, saying he doesn't know. She then questions him about the sword, asking if he doesn't know how to fight. Jaesin questions if this is really a sword. Sokian asks if he came here to die, to which Jaesin declines, stating that he just didn't know it was going to be dangerous here. She presses him on why he came, and Jaesin replies that he has someone he wants to find. Sokian questions why that person would be here, but realizes that the spectre is about to attack Jaesin. She calls out for Jaesin, pushing him aside to protect him from the attack. Sokian questions Jaesin, asking if he came here just to find someone, and what he will do if he finds that person and can't even fight back. What else would he do but die together? Jaesin thanks her for saving him as another attack comes toward her. Jaesin saves Sokian from it, admitting that what she is saying is true and sounding stupid now that he hears it. That's why he didn't know he was in danger before, adding that he really thought he was going to die then. Suddenly, it strikes him that he doesn't care if he dies. He really wants to meet that person. He realizes there is one thing left to do before he dies, so he wants to meet her even if it means risking his life. If it's not fate, then what is fate? Sokian recalls the person while Jaesin is grounded in reality. Jaesin apologizes, saying that he didn't mean to do this. He stands up, insisting that they should try to live for now. Jaesin thinks that he has to find the main body inside the spectre, realizing that he will probably die if he tries, and that running away would count as a success. He doesn't even have time to look for it. From behind, Sokian says that she will do it, coming forward. She states that he doesn't have time to look for the main body. Taking her hairpin, she readies her stance, stating that she will cooperate now. They have a reason, and she needs to get out of there as well. Sokian moves toward the spectre. Jaesin realizes that she has her sword. Sokian says that she will buy some time, prompting Jaesin to call out for her to look out for the attack coming toward her. However, Sokian successfully flies onto the roof while evading the attack. She penetrates through its shoulder, and Jaesin compliments her, saying it's amazing. Sokian screams at Jaesin to focus, stating that they have to quickly find its main body, and if they don't attack it there, then they can't defeat it. Jaesin realizes that it has the regeneration skill. He questions where the main body would be, recalling the blue light emitted from its legs, thinking that maybe that part is it. Jaesin calls out to Sokian, saying that he remembers seeing something under its leg. Crunching down her glasses, Sokian urges Jaesin to hurry up and find it. As Jaesin wears the glasses, Sokian tries to block the specter's attack. While moving back from the specters, Jaesin thinks that sometimes it seemed like something was underneath its leg, and he would be able to tell if he got a little bit closer. Seeing a blue light emitting from its leg, Jaesin tries to stab it, but the strange light moves upward. As the specter turns its head toward Jaesin, Sokian calls out for him, saying that it's dangerous while its arm regenerates to envelop her. Sokian urges Jaesin to quickly attack the spot while she is engaged with the black hair of the specter. Jaesin questions if she's been eaten and determines that he has to attack and stop it, noting that the place emitting blue is now covered. From that place, the specter cries out, calling Jaesin a scholar. Just then, Jaesin realizes that he has been hit by the specter, delaying his attack. He coughs up as his sword is thrown out. He thinks that he missed his only chance as he is continuously attacked. As he is about to be attacked by the specter, Jaesin realizes that he doesn't feel anything, as he sees the sword protecting him, flying to stop the specter's attack and to shield him. Jaesin questions how it did this, as the sword penetrates through its attack to save Sokian and strikes again through its body. Sokian questions how it's possible that it's a sword with consciousness, asking why that thing is trying to protect him. The girl calls out for Jaesin. Jaesin thinks that when it fell on the floor, he thought it was just luck, but he guesses not. He doesn't know what it really is, but it's scary. The sword comes toward Jaesin, and he admits that it has surprised him. The specter calls out for Jaesin, and he thinks that it's because of the atmosphere. For some reason, it seems like it's asking for help. The sword flies with Jaesin as he calls out for it to wait a second and listen to him. Sokian questions what he is doing, warning that he will die like that. Jaesin misdirects the sword to the side to block its attack as he sees the crying face of the specter, realizing that it's real. He throws his hand toward the specter's face and pulls out a certain blue light, causing a huge cloud of smoke to erupt. Sokian questions why a dog has appeared from nowhere, lying beside Jaesin. Jaesin wakes up huffing, as it feels like he had a flashy dream, but he realizes that it was a reality as he encounters Sokian. Jaesin calls out if the monster is still there, but Sokian says that she disappeared, questioning where he got that amazing sword from. Jaesin says that he doesn't know. It's just something he brought from home. Sokian states that the monster reverted to its original appearance because he extracted its true form. Jaesin mentions that he can't believe that this is the specter from before, saying that it even looks just like a dog. Sokian explains that rather than a regular specter, It seems more like a spectre-like god spot. Sokian spots a bell on its leg. Jaesin then questions if that black monster is this god's true form, to which Sokian declines, saying that it was probably the magnified effect of the vengeful spirit, and Sokian says that perhaps it's there, as she takes out the green pin from its body. Jaesin questions if it's in the hairpin. Sokian says that this jade hairpin is a little broken at the end. Jaesin realizes that the shards from that time at home were pieces of this hairpin. Sokian blows it away as smoke appears, and from it, the spectre appears. Jaesin is scared that it's the girl he met earlier. The spirit moves through Sokian, and Jaesin questions if she was possessed. Sokian recalls the spectre's past, noting that she was forced by a scholar as she pleaded not to do this, saying that this hairpin is a keepsake from her mother and to return it. She tried to bite the scholar but got slapped and thrown off the cliff, crying out. She held the hairpin firmly as she died. While roaming as a spirit, she was called out by an old man, who questioned why she was wandering around in the dangerous night. He said if she didn't have anywhere to go, she could come to his place. The girl called out for the scholar, questioning if he came for the hairpin, making her kill people. Sokian, seeing the spectre in front of her, notices as she smiles to disappear into light. Jaesin questions if that was just a ghost, to which Sokian affirms, saying that her soul was in the hairpin while being chased by her assailant. She was driven off the cliff and killed. It seems like it happened because she wanted to protect her mother's lost keepsake, the hairpin, commenting on how pitiful it was. She adds that it seems like the spectre was acting in accordance with the intent of the soul in the hairpin. Someone probably used the hairpin as a weapon against it. Jaesin questions how she knows about it, but Sokian questions why he did that and why he stopped the sword's attack. She asks that although the spectre lost consciousness, if it hadn't, he might have died. Jaesin states that it's true, but because there could have been a misunderstanding, he wanted to hear his story. If he doesn't consider all the possibilities, he might make a mistake. Sokian says that if he thinks about the timing, he could have died, to which Jaesin affirms that it could have happened. Rather than a ghost, wasn't it just a person possessed by a ghost? He can't lightly kill someone in a law-abiding country, saying that even if it wasn't a person, everybody has a reason, whether it is a dog, a spectre, or even a ghost, surprising Sokian. Sokian questions if even the ghost who killed his father, like what he said, has to have some reason. Jaesin recalls his past about the humongous, disgusting monster, while Sokian notices that he's shivering. Jaesin tries to hold his hand while the sword appears from behind, and Sokian takes a step back. Noticing the sword flying, Jaesin holds it out to get it down, apologizing to Sokian, saying that it hasn't been long since he came across this thing. He adds that he doesn't mean that if she has a reason, she's completely guiltless. It's just that he saw the crying woman in the monster earlier, and if by any chance she had died a horrible death, he couldn't let it happen twice. Sokian calls Jaesin a weird guy, to which Jaesin responds that if she's going to call him weird, isn't she worse? He notes that it's strange for a woman to be alone in a place like this in the dead of night, and those peculiar clothes aren't something people normally wear. He concludes that she can't defend herself, even if she calls him weird. Seeing Jaesin squeezing the sword, Sokian takes a step back while Jaesin questions if she is an exorcist, saying that he was really surprised when she was fighting the spectre earlier. If she hadn't told him its weak point, they wouldn't have found its main body. Jaesin questions where his glasses are and goes to find them while looking around. Sokian looks at Jaesin surprisingly. Sokian comments that he really is a weird person, as Jaesin questions what they should do now since they've made a mess. Sokian states that they have to go, to which Jaesin questions where to, and Sokian says to where he is living, adding that it's too dangerous out here. Jaesin questions if it's all right, saying that earlier she mentioned that the promised ones are dangerous, so they should move, but where he lives isn't safe either. Sokian thinks that there's no way for there to be a safe place in this area, and if it's this close in range, then it won't be long until the orchid tree specters find him. Sokian states that they will have to find a way to be safe right now. Anywhere is better than that place. Jaesin agrees, noting that they say a female ghost lives there, and that she even grabs and eats humans. He calls out for Sokian, saying that she also came for the ghost, to which Sokian tries to clarify that was her intent. Jaesin states that it's too bad. It seems like she ran away because of the spectre that followed him. He questions if they will meet her if they search for her next time, saying that he has to ask her something. He apologizes for before, admitting that he said whatever he wanted without knowing anything about her situation, and that he didn't do it because he thinks he is the only one who is right. Sokian remembers Jaesin's words about seeing the crying woman in the monster earlier, recalling the old priest's words that once the ceremony ends, she too will become a part of the golden crown. Sokian thinks that there is not much time, recalling Jaesin's words, and states that she can see why he would think that way. Thankfully, Sokian has been able to hear what has never been said to her. Jaesin says that they are here, and this is the house he has been staying in. Taken aback, Sokian questions how this could be connected. Jaesin tries to laugh, saying that it doesn't seem like anything will come out, does it? Upon entering the place, the dog whines and Sokian drops it, patting it and saying how cute it is. Sokian notes that his face is definitely familiar, smiling. Jaesin asks to wait a minute, as he will bring something for her to wear. Sokian thinks that it's fine, thinking that if it's the Orchid specters, they will soon find out that she's gone, even though the ceremony is tomorrow, and she can't leave it like that. But from behind, the old man appears, saying how ridiculous it is. He states that he thought it was suspicious that she was being very obedient, so he went early to check. He didn't think she could escape just because she ran away. The priest states that she can't hide her ghostly aura, which means that no matter where she goes, she won't be able to hide her identity. Jaesin comes out, asking what she will be wearing, and sees the old priest, questioning who that grandpa is. Suspicious, Jaesin tries to put on his glasses, while the old priest questions Sokian about being with the human. As Jaesin's about to put on the glasses, Jaesin is thrown out by the old priest's attack, revealing through the glasses that the old priest is a tree-like spectre. The old priest warns that he's not planning on punishing her, and that's because tomorrow she will become nourishment for the golden crown anyway. Sokian tries to run away, but her path is blocked as the old priest tells her to come back. The dog barks at the old priest. Apprehended, Sokian hears the old priest comment that, as he has her remains, she will never be able to escape from him. Sokian grits her teeth, thinking that in the end, it is for nothing. Recalling Jaesin's words, she thinks quite amazed, and as Jaesin slashes through the branches to free Sokian, Sokian calls out for Jaesin, asking if she's fine. Jaesin states that who knows since he got hit in the same place twice, questioning if this is a spectre like before. He asks her to tell him its weak spot. Sokian bites her tongue, saying that it's useless. Sokian states it's on a different level than before and not an opponent he can win against. The old priest notes that it's not a normal sword and that it seems this person has something that doesn't suit him. The old priest powers up his attack, declaring that he will take up that sword as he unleashes an attack. The old priest comments that there was a human hiding here and that this human has something that does suit him, launching an attack toward Jaesin. Jaesin questions Sokian if she can think of something else, noting that they do have this sword and maybe it can defeat him. However, Sokian strongly declines, stating that they can't beat him with their poor skills and that there's no chance even if they both attack him at once. Jaesin jokes that she's a little too honest as an attack comes from the ground, aiming to stick toward Jaesin's leg, but Sokian cuts it down with her sword. Sokian deploys her barrier as the old priest screams at her, asking how she dares to go against him. Sokian tells Jaesin that she will buy time and he just has to run away, to which Jaesin replies, asking what about her. Sokian insists that she can't hold him off for long and that whether she dies at their hands, the only thing they could do is delay that by a day or two. Jaesin argues that she can still be saved, but Sokian urges him to just go, saying that she can't hold him for so long. Jaesin thinks about her situation, knowing she's going to die anyway, but then steps in front of Sokian. She questions what he is doing, to which he replies that this is a better choice than running away. Even if he manages to escape, he will live in guilt forever. Sokian questions his sense of stupidity, asking if he hasn't been listening to her. Jaesin replies that he heard her, and will never forget that she said his skills are poor. He is thankful she reminded him that he's going to die anyway. Of course, he doesn't want to die, but he shouldn't use someone else as a shield, suggesting that they fight together and make it out alive. Jaesin states that it's too bad if they die, but this is his choice. As an attack sends Sokian flying, Jaesin questions if she's okay, while the old priest comments that if she thought she could stop him with such a weak barrier. He states he won't punish her for this incident, and if she keeps being stubborn, he will forcefully apprehend her. Jaesin dashes toward the old priest as he tries to attack Jaesin, but Jaesin slashes the tree branch. He screams at Sokian that he will buy time by body blocking, Sokian thinks that he's an idiot and that she said he can't win. Approaching the hairpin, the dog takes it off Sokian. She tries to chase the dog, telling it to bring it back, but as she steps out, she asks it to give it back, insisting that it's not time for playing. Noting the place, she sees a humongous statue out there. Sokian questions what that dog is, and the scene shifts as Jaesin is apprehended by the old priest's branch. The old priest questions whether Jaesin really thinks he can fight him, even though he's a human. Realizing he can't move, Jaesin calls out for his sword, saying he will leave it to him. The sword tries to penetrate the old priest, but he holds it back and casts it aside. The priest commands that it must not belong to him, looking at its level, and states he would have let him live if he didn't have such a thing. He questions whether Jaesin realizes how big of a treasure he has stolen, and tells him to think about his sins in hell as the branch is about to penetrate Jaesin's forehead. Suddenly, a blue beast chomps onto the old priest, sending him flying as a huge creature guards beside Jaesin. Seeing the old priest fall down, the branch apprehending Jaesin withers away. Jaesin questions if this is a spectre as well, noticing Sokian's weird face. He asks what she is doing. The old priest tries to stand up, questioning how it dares to attack him, looking at the creature in front of him. The old priest becomes furious, feeling the aura. The beast tries to attack him as the priest tries to run away in fear, saying that he has to get out of here. However, as he attempts to flee, his legs become immobile as a curse spreads throughout his body. The old priest realizes that it was the guardian of this place, as his body turns into a tree. Jaesin is shocked, wondering why he became a tree, as the beast approaches him and then moves away, allowing the soul to place itself into the statue. Jaesin questions what the hell just happened. Sokian remembers the words that there are specters living beyond that barrier, and that specters often come over and hurt people because their town is so close. That's why they have to protect the town by fighting specters, and they have to train hard to protect the people. Little Sokian had cried that she would try her best because they had to protect the humans, as specters always try to kill them. But her father said not to worry, as they couldn't be harmed as long as they were there and had a guardian to protect the place, and they would go back to training. Sokian realizes that the bells she tied when she was young were a reminder. She thought she was alone in this world. Thinking that she wouldn't disappear and would get her life back, she planned to continue her father's job. Sokian remembers the old priest's words that she would never be able to escape from him as long as he had her ashes. She thinks that to return to her body, she needs her ashes, only he knows the location. Since he became like that, she can't find her ashes. Noticing Jaesin trying to poke at the tree, Sokian thinks that maybe that human can help her. She questions Jaesin about what he said before, that when he hears an unfortunate person's story, he has to do something. Jaesin affirms this. Sokian pushes him, asking if he shouldn't help innocent people avoid experiencing unfair things again, to which Jaesin agrees. Sokian insists that he has to help her, as she is in a very unfair situation. The scene shifts to the temple, where a priest apologizes to a person, saying it was already like this when he arrived and that he didn't think Sokian would run away, adding that she couldn't have gone far. The person replies that he can't feel her presence, suggesting that either she is really far away or has gone to a place where she can erase her presence. The priest bows down in apology, stating that he will immediately gather all the specters to start searching. The person declines, saying that it's all right to let her be, as that might be more beneficial for them. At night in the house, Jaesin apologizes, saying that he only has water and is really thirsty after all. Sokian questions the weird-looking, transparent bottle. Jaesin asks if she needs a cup, offering one. As Sokian slices down the bottle and takes the cup, Jaesin shivers, trembling, thinking that he should just kick her out after this. And silence fills the room. Sokian wonders where she should start, thinking that if she tells him the ghost is her, she suspects that he might help her. Jaesin calls out for Sokian, but Sokian thinks that she can't tell him yet. She states that she knows a person, and since this town is closest to the Netnether realm, there have always been a lot of specters. That's why there have been so many incidents, and just like what he experienced, that person was a martial artist who used to guard this place a long time ago, but is now stuck as a ghost. She hopes he can help that person, who needs to reincarnate to protect this town. Jaesin questions what he should do, to which Sokian replies that first they need to find that person's ashes, causing Jaesin to spill the water. He asks if by ashes, she means the ashes of that person, and Sokian affirms that he is right. Jaesin questions, that shouldn't they talk to that person about such an important issue? But then realizes that the person isn't alive yet. Sokian tries to say that he doesn't have to worry because she has already talked with that person. Jaesin questions how he can trust that and what kind of relationship they have for her to ask him to help in that person's place. Sokian states that she can't tell him that, to which Jaesin replies that he can't trust her even more. She explains that that person became a spectre because specters took her ashes, and they desperately want help. They need to reincarnate that person as soon as possible so they can protect this town. Jaesin asks if that means they need to fight the specters for the ashes, questioning if that's possible. Sokian states that if anyone can do it, it's him, because he has that sword. Jaesin insists that he doesn't know about that. He mentions that she saw that the strong specters are way too powerful for him, and according to what she said, that person is a spectre as well. Even if she reincarnates, that person might side with the specters. Jaesin thinks that he's sorry, but he can't get tangled up in more troubles, especially since he hasn't even met the person in his dreams yet. He questions why he should jump into such a dangerous job with no guarantee for anything, pointing out that it's a little strange that the specters have the ashes and that the person became a spectre because of that. What if that person is actually with the specters? Sokian declines his reasoning, asking him to trust her. Jaesin thinks that they haven't known each other long enough to risk his life. Jaesin states that let's say he trusts her since she saved his life, but what if she is being tricked by that person? He tells her to think about it. Sokian insists that she wasn't tricked, to which Jaesin replies not to be too sure, as she never knows what someone is thinking. Sokian stands up, furious, saying that she didn't get tricked. Jaesin gets angry, questioning why she is yelling, and if he said something wrong. Sokian replies that he keeps treating her like a fool, and that he doesn't know anything. Jaesin, annoyed, asks how she knows so much about that person and suggests that maybe she is that person. Sokian affirms that yes, she is, and asks if he gets it now. Jaesin, realizing this, asks for a moment, questioning if she didn't mean that right, as it must not be the truth. Jaesin realizes she's about to say yes, and Sokian affirms it. Jaesin asks her to wait a second as he gulps down a cup of water, saying that he's going to sleep. Sokian questions why now, and Jaesin replies that it will all be a dream when he wakes up. He is not ready to listen to her, saying he will wake up soon and have a nice dream. But Sokian knocks him down, insisting that it's not a dream and that there is nothing to wake up from. He needs to listen to her. Jaesin tries to convince her that he doesn't want to and that he will forget it, whether it's a dream or not. After calming down, Sokian states that she was part of a group called Nanyak formed to fight specters, and she died during the biggest spectre war. When a person dies, they are destined to reincarnate, but due to the specters taking her ashes, she became a spectre being held captive. She lured humans and served them to the king. Jaesin questions if this is supposed to be a prank, like a ghost house special. Sokian asks what a prank is, and Jaesin explains that a prank is something done by someone with a camera. Sokian questions what a camera is, and Jaesin realizes that she is like a person from ages ago, and it might actually be true that the person in front of him is both a ghost and a spectre. Baffled by this, Jaesin is cursing himself. But then Sokian asks for help, saying that there is no one to guard the barrier right now. Jaesin expresses that he would like to help her as well, but as she can see, he has no powers, and he doesn't know how long that guy will help her either. Not to mention, he came here risking his life to meet a person, and still hasn't found that person. He thinks he at least needs to stay alive before meeting her, and if he keeps doing this, he's going to die at the hands of specters before he even meets her. Sokian, taken aback, feels that Jaesin has said enough. He declares that he is going to work and that she can stay here a while if she's tired, bidding her farewell. He moves out, turning to see her as Sokian recalls the specter's last words. Jaesin comes in front of Sokian, asking her to tell her the rest of the story, insisting that he needs to know what he's supposed to do. The next day, the driver questions Jaesin about why he isn't leaving, saying he told him to come. Jaesin tries to apologize, saying it's his fault. The driver replies that he came because he was too worried, prompting Jaesin to apologize again. Seeing the girl behind the door, the driver asks Jaesin if he has a fairy friend teasing him. Jaesin tries to explain that he has some problems. Just then, the landowner comes from behind, asking if Jaesin is still alive, while the driver mentions that he just heard some crazy stuff and tells Jaesin to make sure he reports it down. As the driver leaves, he tells Jaesin to stay safe. Jaesin apologizes, and the driver says he's proud that Jaesin is still alive and well, overlooking the fact that he made him come here. He hopes Jaesin has a wonderful life with that fairy friend of his. Jaesin questions if that is a compliment or a curse. The landowner from behind complimented Jaesin, saying he's so amazing and of course he knew it, that Jaesin would make it. Jaesin turns to the landowner, asking for the money he promised. The landowner takes a step back, saying that he lied because he was in a hurry, and it's just how things are in this town. He asks if Jaesin can forget it. After giving a small amount of change, Jaesin states that he's leaving tomorrow. The landowner begs him to wait a second and just listen. He pleads that he will give Jaesin $3 million, and half of his rent will be free. How about that? As the money is transferred, Jaesin thinks that he got tricked. Now that he thinks about it, no matter how badly they wanted to come here, no one would pay that much to stay in this old house. He thinks that anyone can make this mistake, and he will just be careful from now on. To which Jaesin states that it's just his brain, and he should be able to live for a few months with that money. Sokian replies that she doesn't understand, and Jaesin says that it's all right. Their words are a few hundred years apart. He realizes that now, when he says it, she feels so different after being alone for so long, reminding him of his past. Jaesin thinks that it must have been lonely for her. Seeing Sokian barefooted, Jaesin says that he should buy her clothes and shoes as well from the website. On to the computer. Sokian questions how a picture can move, and Jaesin states that it's a monitor. If she presses something she wants, it will be delivered by tomorrow morning. Sokian questions if that's possible, and Jaesin assures her that it is. As Jaesin gets a call, he greets his friend, saying that he has some issues. Sokian sees a beautiful dress and taps on the option. The scene shifts as a number of parcels are delivered. Jaesin questions that he never ordered this one, to which Sokian states that she pressed them, saying she did like he taught her yesterday, and it really does come like that. Jaesin flinches as he realizes that she must have ordered it, and he checks his bank account. He finds out that he's done for because his account is empty, questioning what he should do and how to return it. But then he realizes that technically she earned this money, and he can't take away what she earned. Still, he can't stop thinking that he might starve. Sokian asks if this is how she's supposed to wear a beautiful dress. She says it's her first time wearing one. Mesmerized by her look, Jaesin turns towards her, and Sokian questions it weird, to which Jaesin declines. Jaesin cries out inwardly, thinking that he won't die for not eating or anything, but realizes that this is a little light for clothes. Sokian states that he should try opening it, as it's an urn. She felt something when she saw the image, and she asks if he doesn't feel it too. Jaesin questions how she can't feel something over a monitor, and prays to stop shipping weird things online. Taking out the urn, Sokian comments on what an urn it is. She says there might be an important clue in there, to which Jaesin cries out that there isn't, so they have to return it. As Sokian moves it away, Jaesin pushes to get a hold of the urn, but it falls down, and a strange little entity spills out from the urn. The scene shifts towards the grandma in the house as the bell rings again and again. The grandma comes out, saying that she's coming, and they should just ring the bell once. She wonders who in the world would be banging on the door this early in the morning. As she realizes a person is out there when she opens the door, the scene shifts to the house beside it. A person hears a shout to leave, but realizes that there is no one there. The scene shifts to Jaesin, who questions if it is a doll. As Jaesin tries to get a hold of it, he throws it. Jaesin realizes that it's alive, and he can tell even without his glasses that it is disguised. He wonders how it came from this part. Sokian states that it's a spectre, to which Jaesin asks if it's alive. Sokian replies that it doesn't seem dead and must be unconscious. Jaesin questions if, by any chance, the spectre has come to capture him. He thinks and questions if he has to kill this small and puny spectre with his own hands. Sokian states that it's most likely not the case since that child is not on guard. Jaesin questions if this puppy is the guardian, and Sokian affirms that yes, it is the guardian they met yesterday. Jaesin asks if it didn't turn to stone yesterday, to which Sokian states that's what she thought too, but it came from the stone monument. It seemed that it could exit the stone statue because of its specter body. This child is a land god that was protecting the promised Orchid. It stopped corruption from intruding and stored the strength of those inside from leaking out. Also, this child isn't barking, and this specter holds no animosity towards them. Jaesin says that's a relief, for which Sokian replies that the reason why Golden Crown hasn't found her yet is probably thanks to him. Sokian realizes that the old man's words, that she can't hide her ghostly aura, mean that no matter where she goes, she won't be able to hide her identity. Jaesin questions why Golden Crown wants to catch her, and Sokian states that the specters of Golden Crown capture humans or specters and absorb their abilities and memories. That's why she has the job of seducing and capturing humans, then offering them to the Golden Crown. Sokian feels that something is wrong. If they want to capture more humans, it would be better if they just used her. So why does the Golden Crown specter want to consume her, making her space out? Jaesin calls for Sokian, who apologizes, saying that she got lost in her thoughts. Jaesin concludes that it would be best if they quickly found her ashes. Then she will be able to reincarnate and be free. Sokian questions how long he will call her Miss Exorcist, for which Jaesin says that it was a misunderstanding, and asks what he should call her. Sokian states that he should call her Sokian, as she introduces herself. Jaesin introduces himself as Yang Ji-shin. Jaesin feels that this is weird, and he feels a little self-conscious as the doll-like specter huffs. He thinks that it looks like it's waking up, and Sokian calls for it. As the specter sees Jaesin, it jumps to disguise itself as a doll. Jaesin comments that it's too late to disguise herself, as the specter sweats and tries to kick down Jaesin, stating that it's the only method it has. The doll's full-throttle attack had just flicked Jaesin, as Jaesin is taken aback. Jaesin gets furious, stating that it hurts. The scene shifts towards a girl whose house is being banged on. The girl questions why they are banging on the door instead of using the bell, as she sees a weird sight of her dad. She questions where he went, thinking he disappeared and left her alone. Watching this, a strange person crashes a pebble, and as this happens, the person falls down. The girl questions what happened and asks her dad to get a hold of themselves. The strange person walks down the wires as he leaves. A long time ago, there was a young scholar who was living a normal life in a mountain village, and he was bewitched by a fox fire and disappeared on his way home. The villagers searched through part of the village of the mountain to find the scholar, but it was to no avail. Several days later, the scholar returned to his home by himself. His family was happy about his return, but not long after they noticed something strange. The scholar did not laugh nor speak like he used to, and he was like an empty shell. His worried family members sought out a Taoist. Then, the Taoist said that the scholar's soul has been eaten by a fox. The man who returned home was just like the scholar. His daughter was asking him if he wanted to go to the store. Even if she asks him a lot of questions, he won't answer. So his daughter could only cry and wondered what's wrong with him. On the other hand, the little human was on alert after he regained consciousness. Jaesin felt irritated for what it did to him. He tried to calm it and said that they should talk. However, the little human persisted and told Jaesin not to come close. He shot Jaesin multiple times with his little gun again. But he thought that Jaesin was tough because of his big body. Thus, he brought out an even bigger gun. Jaesin was surprised that the kid brought out a cannon. Without hesitation, the little human fired the cannon. Jaesin was worried that it would hit his computer. So, he covered his computer in an attempt to protect it. However, Sokian knew that he was going to be in danger. She quickly ran towards Jaesin and brought out her hairpin. Immediately, she deflected the cannonball. The cannonball strongly hit the ceiling. Afterwards, Sokian scolded Jaesin, telling him that he could die if it hit his vital point. On the other hand, the little human realized that Sokian is a specter as he saw her dark aura. He was about to converse with them, but the cannonball fell on his head. As a result, it fainted. Jaesin decided to put it back into the urn and return it. Thus, Sokian wondered how they would return it. At the same time, Jaesin realized that he has been getting more and more involved with specters, and if it continues, then he would eventually fight a specter. However, he thought that it would be tough because there's no guarantee that he would be able to live after fighting them. He thought about the girl in his dreams that he still hasn't met. All of a sudden, someone knocked on the door. So he quickly opened it. The landlord greeted him with a smile, knowing that he was inside. Then he wanted to say something to Jaesin. He told Jaesin that it seems that there's definitely a specter in their village. While they were talking, Sokian peeked at them. Jaesin felt troubled because it seemed like the landlord wanted him to do something. The landlord shared that the doors in the houses were knocked, but there's no one outside. But he said that someone knocked on Yujung's door, and when she answered, her dad, who had disappeared several days later, was there. Still, Jaesin had no idea have to clue about what the landlord was saying. Thus, the landlord asked if he knew what a foxfire was, which Jaesin was still ignorant about. In order for Jaesin to understand, the landlord said that there was once a person who was bewitched by a foxfire, and his soul was eaten by the fox and became an empty shell. He said that the same thing happened to Jong's dad, who was like a soulless person. Jaesin wondered how the man managed to come back if he was soulless. Moreover, the day Jong's dad disappeared, someone witnessed something strange. A man saw Jong's dad heading towards the mountain late at night. The man saw a blue flame in front of Jong's dad. Jong's dad ignored the man and continued to follow the blue flame. Thus, the landlord said that Jong's dad was following a blue flame like he was entranced. At the same time, a strange person was taking someone's soul again. The man came back from his house, but he didn't talk to his family. Suddenly, the man fell on his knees. The strange man on top of the house broke the blue crystal that it was holding. Afterwards, it left. After hearing the landlord's story, Jaesin doubted it. He thought that the landlord believes in such old-fashioned stories, which the old man reasoned that it was just because it resembles an old story too much. But Jaesin complained that he hadn't even received the money he promised him, so he asked him why he thought that he would help him out. Jaesin felt like the situation was getting crazy when he was just planning to leave the village after researching the urn. The landlord told Jaesin that there's no one else to rely on except for him. Grabbing his hand, he wanted to ask favor from Jaesin. He told him that Jong's only family was his dad, so he was worried. The landlord was concerned how Jong, who was still young, would live by herself without her dad. Right after, he noticed Jaeson's expression and thought that he was going to help. So, he quickly gave him Jong's address. Right after, the man left, leaving Jaesin shocked. As the man left, Sokian went to Jaesin. She asked Jaesin if he would go, which Jaesin asked why he should. But Sokian said that it looks like Jong needs help. However, Jaesin said that he has to work because he has to make money in order to survive. Sokian fell silent as Jaesin said that someone like him couldn't really be of help. However, it seemed like Jaesin was considering it. Sokian was surprised when Jaesin decided to take a glance at Jong's dad. She was glad that Jaesin decided to. Before leaving, Jaesin thought of taking the sword. But the sword just hurled at him. Jaeson's body trembled as he was shocked. Right after, he decided to leave, which Sokian told him that he would like to help as well. But when she stepped outside, a strong energy appeared. The strong energy was felt by the strange person. Sokian and Jaesin were surprised with the light's appearance. Jaesin starts to wonder what it was. Then, Sokian noticed that the dog was pulling her clothes. So, she immediately stepped back to the house. Jaesin noticed that Sokian was acting strange. At the same time, Sokian was wondering what the light means. She recalled the spectre, telling her that she can't hide his ghostly aura. Pondering about that, she realized that it was a barrier protecting the house. Shortly, Jaesin told Sokian to stay in the house since she looks ill. He told her not to worry as it won't take long. He assured Sokian that he had the sword to protect him. Immediately, Jaesin left to go to Jong's house. Heading there, Jaesin was in deep thought. He wondered why he was getting tangled up in problems unrelated to him, and if he dies, then he won't be able to meet the woman from his dreams. He thought of running away, as it was not his issue. However, he recalled what Sokian said about doing something when he hear an unfortunate person's story. At that moment, he starts reminiscing his memories. He recalled a memory when he was young. The young Jaesin had blood on his face. His principal was injured, and he was begging for someone to save her. He ran endlessly, trying to call for help. Thus, the present Jaesin thought that if he doesn't do something, then someone like him will end up alone. Right after, he brought out his glasses. He thought to himself that it wasn't him, but doubt began to creep in as he questioned whether he would simply run away. Meanwhile, someone came to the village head. The young man wanted to ask him something. The landlord was surprised to see the man's appearance. On the other hand, the man asked him if he had noticed any strange events that occurred in the town. The young man told him about the flame floating in the air in the middle of the night. As he asked the landlord if he had seen or heard something, the landlord felt anxious. The landlord starts to wonder about the man's identity and what he knows to have searched for him. Thus, the young man brought out his business card. To his surprise, the young man was a reporter, so he thought that he was done for. Laughing, the landlord responded that he didn't know anything. However, the young man believes that he knows something based on his reaction, which the landlord insists that he doesn't know anything about. The landlord starts throwing things on him, and threatening him that he would call the police if he doesn't leave. Eventually, he was hit on the face. On the other hand, Jaesin just arrived at Yoo-jung's home. Yoo-jung opened the door when she heard someone ringing the doorbell. Jaesin was there, but she didn't know who he was. So, Jaesin explained that the landlord told him about her situation, so he came. He asked her if he could see her father for a bit. Yoo-jung agreed and asked Jaesin to come in. Walking inside, Jaesin thought there's nothing strange in the surroundings. Immediately, he followed Yoo-jung to meet her father. Jaesin was startled to see a strange creature sitting there, twisted into a knot. Shocked, he fell on the ground, causing Yoo-jung to look at him. Yoo-jung immediately asked him what's wrong, and Jaesin responded that it was nothing. In reality, Jaesin was so scared by Yoo-jung's dad. He observed Yoo-jung's dad thoroughly. When his glasses were on, he could see a strange creature. But when he removed it, Yoo-jung's dad had a normal appearance. He starts to wonder if Yoo-jung's dad was a spectre. Then, Yoo-jung starts to ask him if there's something weird about her dad. However, Jaesin felt hesitant to answer. He thought that he can't tell her that her dad looks like a monster, so he lied, telling her that there's no problem. Afterwards, he asked Yoo-jung to explain about her dad's condition. Yoo-jung said that her dad doesn't talk and continues to sit in the same spot. Suddenly, Yoo-jung's dad shifts towards Jaesin. He felt a strange energy coming from the object beside Jaesin. At that moment, Yoo-jung's dad opened his mouth. Jaesin heard him talking. To his surprise, Yoo-jung's dad was already in front of him. Yoo-jung's dad ignored Jaesin and ran towards the door. Concerned, Yoo-jung asked her dad where he was going. She also asked Jaesin why her dad acted like that, which Jaesin said that he doesn't know. Yoo-jung wanted to believe that her dad was not sick. Seeing her expression, Jaesin felt bad. Right after, he sat up and assured Yoo-jung that he would go and bring her dad back, so she should stay there and remain calm. Jaesin went out of the house and thought the situation was absurd no matter how he thinks about it. He doesn't understand the situation, so he wondered who was supposed to help Yoo-jung's dad. Suddenly, he saw Yoo-jung's dad running on top of the house. He tried to call him, asking him to wait, but he continued to run. Jaesin ran after him and told him that his daughter was waiting at home. In vain, Yoo-jung's dad did not listen and continued to flee. Jaesin felt troubled because he couldn't catch Yoo-jung's dad as he's running on the roofs. Suddenly, the sword lit up. It flew away all by itself, leaving Jaesin shocked. The sword was hurling towards Yoo-jung's dad. Seeing that, Jaesin recalled the spectre he fought. He wanted the sword to stop as he thought about Yoo-jung. He shouted at it, ordering it to stop. Strangely, the sword stopped. Jaesin saw that it just changed position. The sword struck the man behind. Jaesin was surprised that it listened to him and didn't attack the man. He quickly headed to the alley where the man fell. Then, he saw that the sword was holding the man down. Coming closer, he tried to talk with the man, saying that he really didn't want to hurt him. Jaesin informed the man that his daughter was waiting for him, prompting the man to quickly look at him. He assumed that the man had heard him. But unexpectedly, the man's leg extended, launching an attack on Jaesin. The creature tries to swallow Jaesin's head. Jaesin begged the man not to do it. To his surprise, its tongue flicked out. Then, it immediately tightened around his neck. Jaesin felt troubled, wondering if he was being swallowed. No matter what he did, Jaesin couldn't escape from the man-creature. He tried to pull himself away from the man. Suddenly, the tattoos on his body began to glow. The creature's body also started to glow, and its size began to increase. Suddenly, the creature exploded. So, Jaesin was freed from the man's strangle. Then he felt a sharp pain in his wrist. Immediately after, he saw the man had vanished. He felt anxious, wondering if he had just killed it. Suddenly, he heard someone chattering. People from the village were approaching him. In a panic, he wondered what they would think if they found out. He glanced at them, trying to gauge their reactions. But he was surprised when he saw more specters among them. A man from the village was trying to talk to one of the people, but he didn't realize that the person was also a spectre. The villagers noticed that Masuk's mom was still acting strangely. On the other hand, Jaesin felt troubled, wondering how the situation had turned out like this. He quickly grabbed his sword and ran. He thought he had to return home, as there wasn't just one spectre. The soulless man from the villagers noticed Mr. Kim trying to go somewhere. At that time, Masuk's mom also acted strangely. As Jaesin ran, he glanced behind. Much to his surprise, all the soulless people were following him. Meanwhile, the young man from earlier regretted that he showed the landlord that he was a reporter. He thought that he should have used his head more. Suddenly, he was surprised when a man he didn't know bumped into him. He looked at him and started to wonder who he was. At the same time, he noticed the specters jumping on the roof. Meanwhile, Jaesin continued to run, wondering why the specters were following him. He wondered if it was because he harmed their friend. Out of nowhere, a specter showed up in front of him. Thus, it made him stop running. He then noticed that the other specters had caught up to him. He was surrounded by 4 specters, and he had nowhere else to go. Jaesin removed his glasses and noticed that their outside appearances have changed into monsters. Suddenly, he heard them talking, saying together. Jaesin demanded the specter to stay away from him. He threatened them, saying that he could hurt them with his sword and they could die as a result. Jaesin was ready to face them whatever happens. Suddenly, a person came and held one of the specter's bodies. He thinks that Jaesin was interesting, but he knows that his words will not get through the specters. Right after, he called Jaesin, causing Jaesin to look his way. The man jumped, lifting the specter's body. He crashed the monster's head on the ground and shouted that those are just magic dolls. Jaesin was shocked by what the man did. Then he asked the man who he was. On the other hand, the man explained that those creatures can't perceive anything nor think anything. Then he asked Jaesin if it was his first time seeing a perianth, the soulless creatures. Moreover, he told Jaesin that it seems that he has a strange item. Jaesin warned the man that the monster had risen up behind him. The man quickly brought out an item from his sleeves. He used it to strike the monster behind him. The item he used tied the monster's head. Instantly, the monster was destroyed into pieces. Then, he told Jaesin that he would ask him about his item later. Immediately, he went to deal with the other perianths. He sliced the perianth behind him into 2 pieces. Next, he severed the head of the perianth behind him. Jaesin was stunned to witness the man effortlessly eliminating the monsters. Afterward, the man retrieved his weapon and reformed it. The item took the shape of a sword in his hands. The man uttered something in another language and hurled the sword in Jaesin's direction. Jaesin thought the man was going to attack him, but the sword flew past him. Instead, the sword struck the perianth behind him. The sword pierced through the monster's body. Immediately afterward, the man uttered another praise in a different language. His hands seemed to be charged with energy, and then he released it. As he released it, the perianth disappeared and turned to ashes. Jaesin felt relieved, realizing he hadn't been hurt after seeing what had happened. On the other hand, the man was frustrated that his weapon didn't come back to him. Picking up the weapon, he said that it materializes well, and the sword forms well. However, it's not very good at returning to him. As he hid his weapon, the man asked Jaesin why the perianths were chasing him. Jaesin does not know about the perianth, so he asked if he was referring to those people. The man was confused as Jaesin said that perianths are people. Thus, he clarified to Jaesin that perianths aren't people. They're magic dolls stitched with leather that imitate parts of a human body or the belongings of humans. Even when the man explained it, Jaesin still couldn't understand, shocking the man. He starts to wonder who Jaesin was, as he realizes that he was not an exorcist. However, he considered that it was impossible for a normal human that would have something that was emitting so much ghostly aura. Thus, it made him think that Jaesin was an apprentice. On the other hand, Jaesin was relieved that the creatures that the man killed were not really the villagers and thought that if the man knows what those creatures are, then maybe he knows how to find Yujung's father. When he was about to talk, the man said that he had a question for him. He brought out his card again. He stated that his name is Yun Juka, affiliated with Yang Hwasian. Juka demanded Jaesin to reveal his identity, which left Jaesin dumbfounded. He doesn't know what he meant by affiliated, so he just told Juka what his name was. However, Juka was not satisfied. Then, Jaesin told him that he's a novelist. Juka thought that he was lying, so he pointed at his item and asked where he got it. Nervously, Jaesin said that he just picked it up. Upon hearing that, the man was left shocked. Moreover, Jaesin explained that the item was in the house he moved into, so he picked it up. Not satisfied, Juka tried to clarify what Jaesin meant again. He asked if he meant that he went around holding a club he picked up from his house, and he got chased around by perianths he coincidentally met. Jaesin responded that he didn't know, and it might not be the only reason. Then, Juxa said that he believed everything Jaesin said, but he said that he would be taking the item. Hearing that, Jaesin was shocked. He thought that if he didn't have it, he would be totally unable to protect herself, so he told Juka that it's a bit difficult to give. However, Juka said that it wasn't a request. With a fierce look, he brought out his weapon and demanded Jaesin to give him the item. On the other hand, Jong was walking around the neighborhood, trying to find her dad. Suddenly, she spotted the villagers crowding. She noticed that they seemed to be looking at something. So, she went and checked to see what they were gossiping about. She saw the red knot and talisman on the ground, and asked her neighbor what it was. Meanwhile, Jaesin just stared at Juka even with his threatening request. Shortly, he answered Juka, refusing to give him the item. He explained that it was something that he truly needed. Juka quickly brought out his weapon. He became irritated with Jaesin's answer. Suddenly, he vanished from Jaesin's sight. Juka went behind Jaesin and told him that he would forcefully take it if he wouldn't give it. Immediately, he took the item from Jaesin's hand. However, the item was acting up by itself even if it was already in his hands. Juka was surprised when the item suddenly pierced itself from the ground. He was dumbfounded with the sudden situation. Silence occurred between the two of them as the weapon fell to the ground. Right after, Juka tried to lift it. But he couldn't lift it and told Jaesin that he didn't expect that he was holding such a heavy thing all that time. Jaesin picked it up and said that it's not heavy, making Juka shocked. Thus, he told Jaesin that he's stronger than he looks. Then, Jaesin thought that if Juka thought that he's strong, then maybe he wouldn't take the weapon away from him. So, he acted like he was strong. Juka felt suspicious about Jaesin's response, so asked Jaesin if he were going to beat specters with the item and without a license. Shocked, Jaesin didn't know that he needed a license, as he said that it was just self-defense. At that moment, Jaesin realized that he said something wrong because what Juka said was just a joke. So, Juka thinks that Jaesin doesn't seem like an exorcist, and it doesn't seem like he's lying, but he was still doubtful because he doesn't know Jaesin's identity. At that moment, he really starts to wonder Jaesin's real identity. Furthermore, Jaesin opened up the topic about the perianths because it seemed like Juka seems to know a lot about them. Jaesin asked if Juka can find the people whom the perianth took the appearance of if perianths aren't people. In response, Juka asked Jaesin what he would do with the information he would give. Jaesin wanted to tell him, but for some reason, he feels like Juka would never tell him. Suddenly, someone called Young. He saw that it was Young. Young told him that the next-door auntie said that there was a loud noise outside, and that he suddenly went somewhere. She asked about her dad, leaving Jaesin surprised. Gripping his hand, Jaesin told Juyung that her dad was too fast, so he lost him. Then, he assured her that he would find him soon, so she should go home and wait. But, Juyung said that she couldn't send his dad off. She shared that she fought with her dad the previous night, so when her dad left the next morning, she deliberately pretended to be asleep. Still, her dad informed her that he would be going first. Juyung cried because she couldn't tell her dad to have a safe trip, so now, she was blaming herself for what was happening to her dad. Seeing Juyung cry, Jaesin felt sad. He wondered why children think that all unhappy events occur because of them. Afterwards, Jaesin brought out a paper with his phone number and instructed Juyung to contact him through call and not leave her house. He told her to stay at home and wait until he comes back. Right after, Juyung left. Juka told Jaesin that he was a show-off. He asked Jaesin how he was able to find Yujung's dad if he doesn't even know what a perianth is. Jaesin said that he knows that he's not reliable, but he can't help it. He declared that he's going to do what he's able to. Hearing Jaesin's statements, Juka starts to consider helping him. Afterwards, he told Jaesin that a perianth is a magic doll crafted by a box. For it to resemble someone, they need a part of their body. So, if a perianth resembling a family member that much appears, then it means that family member has been kidnapped. Juka concluded that Yujung's dad was kidnapped and was hidden. He said that it's a bit of trouble to find the location. There is one method to finding the fox fire, a small flame that floats in the air and bewitches people. As Juka mentioned the small flame, Jaesin recalled what the landlord said, that Yujung's dad was following a blue flame like he was entranced. Thus, he told Juka that he thinks he knows where it was, which also made Juka excited. Right after, he thanked Juka for the information and said that he would go first, which Juka unawarely agreed. Realizing it, he stopped Jaesin from leaving. Thus, Jaesin asked what was wrong with him. Juka told Jaesin that not because he somehow caught specters a few times doesn't mean they're weak and he just can't beat any specter with his weapon. He told Jaesin to stop fooling around and just go back. Juka mentioned that if the specter was what he suspected, Jaesin would die and his weapon would be ineffective. He shouted at Jaesin, telling him that a newbie like him should stay out. However, Jaesin persisted and told Juka that he had to go. Juka was irritated by how stubborn Jaesin was. However, Jaesin was resolute because he had already made a promise with Young. Seeing how determined Jaesin was, Juka couldn't say anything back. Meanwhile, back in the house, the little human from the urn just woke up. Then, she quickly sat up. Sokian was right beside him, so she asked if his head was fine. However, the little human stepped back immediately. She glared at Sokian and Sokian just stared at him. Then, the little human recalled that Sokian deflected his attack. Right after, she brought out a weapon. But she thought that it was not enough. So, she brought out large weapons, which Sokian told him that she doesn't have to be that guarded. Sokian then asked the little human why she came to the human world, as it seems like she has some status based on his clothes. The little human felt strange looking at Sokian, because she remembered feeling a ghostly aura on her. Thus, she asked Sokian who she was and why she had taken the form of another human. Sokian said that even if Wana returned to her original appearance, she doesn't remember what she looked like. Then, she told the little human that she can call her by her name. Sokian shared that she has spent all her life as the promised Orchid's daughter. After telling her story, the little human thought that she was in a pitiful situation, then asked if she succeeded when she ran from the Golden Crown. Sokian said that she can't call her escape complete, but the little human was still relieved that she wasn't a subordinate of the Golden Crown. Right after, the little thing introduced herself, saying that she's Hungayan, the royal princess of Soyu Kingdom. Sokian became anxious hearing that she was a princess. She admitted to Hungayan that she lacked courtesy because she didn't recognize her as a noble, which Hungayan said that it's fine, saying that something like a position in the spectre world would have any meaning in the human world. Hungayan stated that the weapons from even the best smiths in the spectre world don't hold a candle to her work. But no matter how strong it is in the spectre world, because its properties don't match with the human world, it doesn't matter. Then, Sokian asked Hungayan why she was in an urn. Hungayan said that she was ambushed while exploring the human world. Sokian asked who it might be, but Hungayan wasn't sure. She has many suspects in mind, but it's impossible to be certain. On the other hand, Juka was following Jaesin. Jaesin went to the landlord, who was telling him about 105th Street. Right after, Jaesin left in a hurry and told the man that he would tell him the details later. Jaesin checked his phone and searched that 105th Street is 5 minutes away from where he was. But he felt anxious because Juka was following him, as Juka believes that he just can't send a novice by himself, and Jaesin should be grateful that an expert is helping him. Having no choice, Jaesin just agreed to Juka. Unknown to Jaesin, Juka has a plan. He brought out a talisman. In reality, Juka won't be helping Jaesin, but he would be observing him for a bit longer. When Juka brought out his talisman, Jaesin felt something on his shoulder. Juka couldn't see the blue flame on Jaesin and tried to proceed with his plan. Suddenly, Jaesin turned around. He asked Juka if he did something to him, to which Juka responded that he did not do anything. Then, Jaesin told Juka that he had something that he's curious about, which he asked why do specters needlessly make a fake family member and send it back home. Juka said that he doesn't know, but he thinks it's probably to hide the fact that the person's disappeared. Then, Jaesin asked him why specters do that, which made Juka furious, saying how he would know something like that. At the same time, in a shadowy alley that was deserted by everyone, beneath the dark overpass, a place leading below a dark place was there. The place featured a strange door and appeared to be abandoned. Behind the door, there were people who had been kidnapped by the spectre. Shortly, a woman with no shoes was walking towards the strange door. It was a child, humming softly while carrying a large bowl. The humans heard her walking closer from the door. She asked them if they waited for a long time and said that she brought dinner. The child called the man her dad and told him to sit down, then asked the grandma to sit down as well on the table with them. Quickly, the people nervously gathered at the table while the child was still humming. They were trembling and crying, and the child asked them why they wouldn't smile. She said that she was upset and shared that the dolls she sent to the village were destroyed as well. The girl served the people dead rats. Suddenly, Yujung's dad knelt down and begged the child to send him home as his daughter was waiting for him. The child asked the man what he was talking about, even calling him dad. She came closer and told the man that his daughter was her. The man trembled in fear as the child held his face, and the child thought that it was strange, asking why he was crying. She asked him if he was sad. Then, she made the same face and asked him if it resembled his expression. The child caressed the man's face and told him not to be sad, because she would get sad too. Suddenly, she thought of an idea. She asked the man if he would become happy if he brought her daughter over. The man pleaded with the girl to stop, but she calmly replied that she would be back soon. Immediately after, she ripped one of his nails out. Consequently, he screamed in pain, causing the others to become even more terrified, trembling with fear. The girl inserted the man's nail on the ugly doll's body. Then she threw it. The doll started forming and grew even bigger. Shortly, the doll slowly transformed into a spitting image of Yoojung's dad, and the girl said that she would just bring Yoojung and make her a younger sister. The man was terrified and could do nothing but cry. His neighbors were all in tears, frightened by the girl. As Yoojung's father cried, the spectre girl embraced him and pleaded for him to love her too. Meanwhile, Hungyeon was just observing Sokian. Sokian seemed to be in deep thought and looked troubled. Thus, Hungyeon asked her what she was worrying about. Socheon was concerned because Jaesin was not coming home even when it's already late at night. She told Hungyeon that she requested something excessive from someone who's never fought a spectre before, and she's angry that she's the one being chased, yet she can't be of any help. Thus, Sokian pondered if she could only leave. Afterwards, Hungyeon wanted something to ask Sokian. However, Sokian noticed that the dog reacted, so Jaesin might have returned. But she noticed that his reaction seemed to be strange. She thought that if the guardian dog was that alert, then the person outside was not Jaesin. Quickly, Sokian carried Hungyeon and asked her to stay inside for a bit. Afterwards, Sokian went to open the gate. A strange person was there. The person smiled because it's not a perianth, and also realized that it was not a person either. Sokian then asked the man who he was. The man responded that he was curious because a ghostly aura he never saw before briefly appeared. Then he brought out a yellow pearl. He said that the yellow rock should react to any ghostly aura, but it's not racing in front of a spectre like Sokian. Thus, he brought out a blue crystal. As he brought it, he touched the barrier surrounding the house. He realized that he didn't sense anything because there was a barrier. As he saw the dog, he concluded that the master of the barrier is the god of the site. Sokian stared at the man and started wondering who he was. She wondered if he was a spectre or a human, but she believed that he's more dangerous. Afterwards, the man said that there's someone he was looking for. The stone he has is for detecting that person's power, so it doesn't react to anything besides his dolls, so he concluded that person is hiding somewhere in a barrier in that neighborhood. Bringing out a red pearl, the man thinks that Sokian was hiding someone inside the house. Sokian stepped back as the man ordered her to hand it over to him. She thought he was referring to Hungyeon, so she told the man that there was no one by that name inside the house. However, the man replied that her expression suggested otherwise. He suggested that she let him in if she wasn't hiding anything, as he would verify it himself. However, Sokian was determined and refused to accept his request, as she saw no reason to let him in. The man decided to resolve the matter with force, even though he thought it would be somewhat burdensome for him. The man's red pearl glowed faintly. Instantly, the barrier was shattered. Sokian noticed the barrier was slowly fading. Thus, she quickly stepped back, putting more distance between herself and the man. She was shocked that he had destroyed the guardian god's barrier so easily. On the other hand, the man confirmed that Sokian was the source of the ghostly aura he had sensed. Thus, Sokian felt troubled, wondering what she should do next. Meanwhile, at Yoojung's house, Yoojung was in her room, sitting on the floor, all crumpled up. Suddenly, a loud sound echoed, jolting her awake. She immediately ran outside and hurried downstairs to check if it was her dad. To her surprise, her dad was indeed there. She quickly hugged him and asked why he had suddenly left, expressing how worried she had been. Crying, she told him not to do that again. But then she suddenly felt something strange. She saw a monster standing in front of her instead of her dad. Quickly, the monster lunged at her, attempting to devour her. It was late at night, and there were no people outside in the neighborhood. In the streets, the creature that resembled Yoojung's dad had captured her and devoured her. Now, it was walking back to its master. The man realized that the barrier has a lot of power. He didn't expect that only a small space would appear after using up a bright stone. Right after, he proceeded to enter, so the god of that place tried to attack him. But it couldn't pass through the man's barrier. The guardian tried to break it, but it was to no avail, and the man just laughed at it, saying that it's brutal. He told the guardian not to be so agitated because it's impossible for a god of a site to meddle with the barrier before it expires. Then he told Sokian that they should stop the wasteful acts, as he only needed to take the person with him. He mentioned that the person was a thief, and there's no way that she would defend it. Sokian pondered why he mentioned a thief and wondered if he was talking about Hungyan. Inside the urn, Hungyan also was shocked that the man called her a thief, not knowing what he meant. Suddenly, the man noticed the bead was changing color. Thus, he thought that he needed to change the bead already. Shortly, the bead shattered into pieces. Right after, he brought out a bead again and made a barrier, which made Sokian step back. Sokian noticed that the man was already close to the urn where Hungyan was hiding. So, she immediately drew her weapon. She told the man that he can't go any further. With her statement, the man decided to bring out a bead again. The bead transformed into a weapon. Then the man told Sokian that he doesn't know if the worth of what she was hiding is enough for her to offer her life. But Sokian stayed silent. Hungyan wanted to know what was happening because she couldn't see, so she started to think that Sokian was in danger because of her. She can't bear to let it happen, so she thought of coming out and everything will be settled. However, she heard Sokian saying that she was not hiding anything. Sokian told the man that he can't just let people as she likes because the master of the house is currently absent. Hungyan thinks that Sokian just said that for her not to come out of the urn. On the other hand, the man thinks that he was in too much of a hurry to believe what Sokian said. Sokian believes that it's impossible to know what trouble might happen because of what the person stole, which the man said that something has already happened. Then, he said that he shouldn't bother saying it. He thinks that Sokian wouldn't be hiding the person without knowing anything, and they don't care whether or not victims pop up. Sokian was confused about what the man was saying, that he even mentioned there were victims. Immediately, the man struck Sokian, but Sokian was able to defend it. However, the man was too strong. As a result, Sokian was sent backwards. She stumbled on the ground, but she immediately stood up. She starts to wonder how she should defend against the man. Then, she thought that if she fights the man inside the barrier, then she can't receive the guardian's help. While the man was charging, Sokian noticed the bead that the man was holding. Without hesitation, Sokian charged at the man, leaving the man shocked. Her sword broke the man's earrings. But the man avoided her. When Sokian was falling, the man tried to strike her immediately. Sokian avoided it, and the man ended up striking the wood. The man noticed that he couldn't pull his weapon easily. He doesn't have any weapon in his hands because he was holding the bead in his left hand. Thus, Sokian took it as an opportunity to attack the man. He managed to avoid the attack. However, he noticed that he wasn't holding the bead anymore. The bead fell on Sokian's side. As a result, the man didn't have any barrier around him, and the guardian immediately tried to attack him. Fortunately for the man, he immediately brought out another bead. He lost his balance due to the force of the guardian's attack on the barrier. Then he admitted to Sokian that he was wrong. He told Sokian that she was quite skilled. On the other hand, Jaesin was asking Juka what's the method to prevent being bewitched by a fox fire. Juka said that it's a good question, but he said that there is none. He explained that as long as they don't have the eyes of specters, they would be bewitched and there's no way out. But he said that the moment they recognize it, they quickly use a talisman. Juka was angry as it seemed like Jaesin wasn't listening to him. But Jaesin pointed out something. He pointed in the front as there was a perianth. However, Juka saw that it was only a person. Suddenly, the perianth started running. Jaesin and Juka immediately ran and tried to chase it. While running, Juka asked Jaesin how he knew it was a perianth. Jaesin said that it would take a long time for him to explain. Thus, Juka said that he should tell him later or he's dead. After a while of following the perianth, they lost track of it. Then, Jaesin said that the perianth earlier was strange. He noticed something was inside its stomach. However, Juka said that it was impossible because perianths are just leather pockets and the inside is empty. Jaesin then asked if it ate a person, to which Juka concluded that the person it devoured wasn't dead because perianths don't have digestive organs. He thinks that it's probably doing it to move a human again. Moreover, Jaesin carefully observes the surroundings. He stared at the overpass. As he stared at it carefully, he noticed something moved. So, he told Juka that something beneath the bridge was distorted for a moment. Juka immediately shoved Jaesin aside. Then, he laid out his hands in the air. He felt like he touched something. That moment, he told Jaesin that he found it. He said that it was hiding behind the door, which Jaesin couldn't see. Juka asked him if he was pretending that he doesn't know, but Jaesin was still dumbfounded. So Juka brought out a talisman and instructed Jaesin to close his eyes. As the talisman touched the invisible barrier, a bright light illuminated. Afterwards, an entrance appeared. Jaesin was shocked to see it. Thus, Juka explained that the talisman tells him where the door is. He said that when he goes through a door made by specters, he needs to come out through the exact spot to return to his original position. But once the talisman completely burns, then they might not be able to return. Afterwards, he asked Jaesin if he would still follow him. Jaesin starts to think about his decision. He thought about the lady in his dreams. But then, he also thought about the things he has seen and experienced in the past few days. So, he entered the door and responded that he had gone too deep to back down. Inside the specter's place, Yujung's dad was still trembling in fear while holding his injured finger. All of them were just silent as the specter fox looked at them. Suddenly, they noticed someone had arrived. The fox child was happy to hear that her doll had come back. She happily went towards the doll, knowing that it succeeded in getting the man's daughter. The doll opened its mouth widely. It spat out Yujung, which surprised the man. Yujung's dad immediately carried her, and the others were concerned if she was still breathing. Then, the fox girl happily announced that their family had been completely gathered. However, her reaction changed when the man called her a monster. Yujung's dad was angry at her because of what she did to her daughter, but the others tried to stop him. The woman whispered in his ear if he remembered what the child did. He recalled that the child killed someone in front of them. Suddenly, the fox child asked if he hates her. She asked him what the reason was. The humans trembled in fear of what she was going to do to them. Suddenly, the child's doll has been tied. The doll was pulled and destroyed. The child turned around after what happened to her doll. At the same time, the humans were shocked by what happened. Juka walked towards them, stating that he finally found them. He asked them if it was the fox burrow, while Jaesin was beside him. However, he was dumbfounded when he saw a child. The fox child said that she was in a bad mood as her doll exploded. Then she walked towards them. Jaesin fixed his eyeglasses and looked at the child. He saw that it was the fox spectre. He was even surprised that it even has 3 tails. Juka becomes irritated again as Jaesin seems to see things that he doesn't. Right after, he tried to talk to the child. However, he was surprised when the child was already in front of him. The child pushed Juka, using only her tiny hands. She declared that she would eat his liver first. However, she was shocked when she realized that her attack didn't work. She screamed in pain, holding her tiny hand as she fell back. Juka asked the child if her hand hurted. He showed her the talismans and said that she would really be hurt because she messed with those. The child became frightened, seeing Juka was an exorcist. She doesn't want to be taken away. Thus, she quickly ran away from Juka. Jaesin then asked Juka if he was okay, which Juka assured him that it was nothing. He admitted that he was nervous since it was a specter, but he realized that it was just a child. Juka was confident that it would be simpler than he thought, so he instructed Jaesin to just watch him deal with the child. While running away, the fox child threw her dolls. Juka was startled when he saw the periants forming in front of him. So, he immediately brought out his weapon and attacked the periants. However, his weapon did not whip the periants. He felt troubled, recognizing that the place was too cramped. But, Jaesin instructed him to duck. As he ducked, Jaesin eliminated the periants. Jaesin proudly told Juka that he just received help from a newbie. However, they suddenly realized that the child had closed the door again. Juka demanded the child to open the door. Hearing Juka, the people inside realized that he was a human. They thought that they're saved and he had come to rescue them. Juka was shocked to see the people inside, asking if they were locked up there. At the same time, Jaesin saw a familiar face. He was shocked to see Yujung. It made him shout her name in concern. Then he tried to open the door forcefully. Boo, the periants are blocking the door. While the periants blocked the door, the fox child sat silently beside the door. She starts to wonder what she should do, thinking that everyone will die. Suddenly, she heard the humans calling her a monster. She saw how they were pleading for the people outside to save them. So, the fox child thought that they were not family. As a result, she brought out more periants. She ordered the dolls to kill all the humans. So, the periants immediately went to the humans. On the other hand, Juka and Jaesin were still trying to open the door. All of a sudden, they heard someone shout. They both became concerned after the loud noise. He saw that the periants were trying to devour the humans. A periant succeeded in swallowing one of the people inside. The periants devoured the other people, with Young still unaware of what was happening. Seeing Young unconscious, Jaesin became more concerned about her. However, the perianth had already devoured her. Jaesin looked at his sword and wondered why he couldn't do anything. Right after, he instructed Juka to move away from the door. Instead, Juka got angry and asked Jaesin if he could not see that what he was doing was urgent. However, Jaesin thought that the door would break if it was struck by the sword. But the door suddenly opened. Juka and Jaesin were shocked to see it open. Much to their surprise, all the periants inside were coming out. The periants blocked the way to the door. Juka and Jaesin felt troubled, wondering what they should do. Shortly, the periants charged at them. They immediately tried to avoid their attacks. However, the periants continued to chase them. So, Juhak immediately formed his weapon as a sword. He ran on the wall and planned to attack them. However, Jaesin reminded him that there are people inside the periants. Juhak said that he knows and he could just cut the periant's head and pull the people inside it. But the people's head was attached to the periant's head. Jaesin shouted at him, telling him to stop. Frustrated, Juhak withdrew his attack and swung the other way. To his surprise, a perianth held his feet. It pulled him and made him crash to the ground. He got mad because they played too dirty. At the same time, the perianths surrounded him and struck him multiple times. Suddenly, one of the perianths' head was attacked. The perianth stopped beating Juhak and turned to where the attack came from. Jaesin was shocked that he managed to attack the perianths. The weapon he hurled floated on top of them. Shortly, it immediately tried to attack them again. However, the perianths showed the people's faces. Thus, Jaesin ordered the weapon to stop. The weapon stopped and came back to Jaesin's possession. He was in disbelief as he didn't expect that the dolls would make the people into shields to protect themselves. So, he concluded that the dolls were not mere shells. Then he asked Juka if he was right. But he was shocked when the perianths suddenly charged at him. He prepared and held his weapon up. However, the perianths showed the people's faces again. Jaesin felt hesitant and stepped back with the fear of hurting the people inside. So, he just avoided the perianth's attack. While he was running, he didn't expect to be hit. The perianth attacked him, leaving him flying. He crashed heavily on the wall. He coughed badly and felt that he couldn't breathe and got hit with some sort of hammer. At that moment, the perianths had already surrounded him. Thus, he thought that he was going to die. He closed his eyes as he already accepted his fate. But nothing happened, so he opened his eyes. To his surprise, the perianth's body became frozen in place. Then he starts to wonder how that happened. Juka was responsible for stopping the perianths using his talisman. He used a binding spell, which could stop the perianths from moving for a short time. However, he felt troubled because he himself is also unable to move. So, he told Jaesin that he had to take the people out of the doll while the perianths were frozen. But Jaesin wondered how he should take the people out, as his left arm was injured and it's hard for him to breathe. While he was thinking of a plan, he suddenly recalled his first encounter with a perianth. He pulled his arm sleeves and stared at the tattoo on his skin. Right after, he immediately tried to get up. Then, he touched the perianth's head. Jaesin tried to remember the feeling he had when on his first time to eliminate a perianth. However, Juka didn't know what Jaesin was doing, so he asked him. He showed the talisman and said that they don't have time. Suddenly, he heard someone talking behind him. The fox child was behind him, and she was telling him that she already used all of her dolls. She told Juka that she hates him. Then she struck him in the back. Juka felt weak right after. He felt troubled because the binding spell was slowly vanishing. As the binding spell slowly fades, it also weakens the effect on the dolls. On the other hand, Jaesin was telling himself to stay calm. However, the perianth was able to move again. On the other hand, Sokian continues to fight the strange man. She was holding on and still trying to not let him inside the house. The man felt sure that he struck Sokian. As a result, Sokian bled from her arm. Still, she didn't show any sign of weakness in front of the man. The man told Sokian that she should stop the pointless fighting because she must have already known the difference in their abilities. Inside the house, Hungayan noticed the sound of Sokian's breathing becoming very rough. She thought it was pathetic that she was using another person's life as a shield. However, Sokian chose not to give up, telling the man that she hadn't properly started. The man thinks that Sokian was being stubborn, but he believes that he would still find the person he was searching for. He brought out a white bead covered with black aura and told Sokian that he would put her to sleep for a bit. Before he could even use the bid, Hungyan fired the gun and told him to stop. She told him that she was the one that he was searching for. Now that Hungyan came out, she told the man to stop bothering Sokian anymore. Sokian was surprised that Hungyan revealed herself. The man was also silent and was just staring at Hungyan. Then he asked her who she was. Hungyan shot the man and told him that she was the one that he had been looking for. However, the man said that he was looking for another person. He stopped the bullet from hitting his hand, but the bullet strangely moved again, hitting his hand. The man was shocked as he didn't expect that it would turn that way. He looked at his hand, which was injured from the attack. Then he starts to realize something from the bullet. He thought that the person in front of him was from the royal family of the Soyu kingdom. Thus, he asked Hungyan why she was there. He told her that he didn't come to find her, leaving Hungyan dumbfounded. The man still couldn't believe that Sokian was just hiding a little person. He thought it was impossible, so he insisted on going inside and let him look for himself. Hungyan shot the man again and told him that Sokian refused to do that from the start. Without any choice, the man tried to defend himself from the bullets. Afterwards, Hungyan realized that she was out of bullets. Then, Sokian wondered who the man was trying to find if he didn't come to find Hungyan. On the other hand, the fox child was surprised that Jaesin exploded her doll. As the doll exploded, Young was released from it. Jaesin immediately catches Young and prevents her from falling on the ground. He was relieved that he managed to do it. Meanwhile, Juka was shocked, wondering what Jaesin's real identity was again. Concerned, the fox child ran towards her dolls. However, Juka stopped her, grabbing her hands. He asked her where she was going. The fox child became furious and started to draw her claws. She struck Juka and said that she hates him. However, Juka blocked the attack with his weapon. Right after, he transformed it into a sword and attacked the fox child. The fox was fortunate that she dodged Juka's attack. She jumped and ran bare against the walls. Juka tried to chase the fox child. Suddenly, the fox child stopped moving. Juka quickly moved and took the opportunity to strike the kid. However, he suddenly felt pain in his lower back. As a result, he stopped moving. He was shocked when the fox child was already on top of him. She was already holding his head. Then, she told Juka that she was going to pop his head off. The fox child lifted Juka's head and tried to separate it from his body. Juka struggled to breathe as the fox child slowly pulled his head. Suddenly, the fox child heard another explosion, making her attention turn another way. She felt disheartened seeing her dolls being eliminated one by one. Thus, she demanded Jaesin to stop what he was doing. Distracted, Juka tried to attack the fox child, but the fox child still managed to avoid it. But her bag was sliced off because of the attack. Then, she stumbled and crashed on the ground. Juka was able to breathe properly as he got freed from the fox child's strangle. At the same time, the fox child was complaining that something was hurting her. But then, she just saw her bag was falling in front of her. The bag fell to the ground, and it accidentally brought out a strange item. Thus, the fox child was shocked. She stared at it as it rolled from the other side. Meanwhile, back in Jaesin's house, the man still insists on going inside, to which Sokian told him again that the master of the house is absent and she can't give him permission. Then, Sokian asked him what the person he was looking for stole, and the man responded that it was a bead. Going back, the fox child felt nervous seeing the bead far from her. Then Jaesin noticed the bead. Juka and Jaesin start to wonder what the bead was, noticing that it looked different. The bead wasn't whole, and it seemed like it was the bead that the strange man was trying to find. In the past, villagers were angry at the fox child for stealing their chickens. They didn't think that she was a child, but just a fox. The fox child wanted to say that he's not just a fox and she has a name. A grandma gave the child a name, Soho, because she's a small fox. At first, the grandma thought that she was just a child with no parents. But she was surprised when Soho changed into a fox. However, she didn't care and wanted to live with Soho even if she was a fox. Coincidentally, all of Grandma's family left home and she was so lonely. So she asked Soho if she could become her family. The old lady told Soho not to steal people's food anymore. However, at first, Soho stole a chicken again. But the next day, she went to catch her own food with the old lady. They spent a good time together. One day, Soho's grandma fell ill and Soho asked her if she was hurting. The old lady told Soho that a human's lifespan is shorter than hers. She said that the worries she has aren't little when he thinks of leaving her behind. The old lady wanted Soho to make a new family when she leaves. Then she won't be lonely. When the old lady died, Soho wondered why the humans were hurting her even though her grandma told her not to hurt humans. At that moment, a lady appeared and told her that humans hurt her because they don't need her in their lives. She said that Soho would only disturb her. So, she told Soho that she should hurt humans as well. The lady brought out a yellow bead and healed Soho. Soho told the lady that her grandma told her to make a new family. So, the lady asked Soho if she should tell her the method of making a family. The lady told Soho to gather humans. Then they will become her family. Soho said that she couldn't because she doesn't have any power. So the lady said that she would lend her a bead. She instructed Soho to use it and gather people. Soho said it was her first time seeing a very pretty bead, which the lady said would make her strong. Moreover, the lady asked Soho to give her the failed humans. If she failed to start a family, then she could start over. The next few days, Soho killed humans. She felt sad because she remembered that her grandma reminded her not to hurt humans. The lady told her that if she doesn't hurt humans, then the emotions won't come out. She said that she needs human emotions. However, Soho still felt hesitant about it. So, the woman told her to give the bead back if she doesn't like it, which Soho doesn't want to. Then, the woman instructed her to continue to do what she tells her, since she can't do anything without the bead. Thus, when Jaesin was about to pick the bead, she told him to stop. Jaesin wondered what the bead was. Soho immediately ran towards him, declaring that it was hers. Suddenly, Jaesin felt something strange because of the bead. Soho was about to attack him just to retrieve the bead back. However, Soho did not notice her because of the strange feeling. Juka shouted at Jaesin, telling him that it was dangerous. On the other hand, Soho was on the verge of striking him. All of a sudden, a bright light envelopes Jaesin. The bright light blinded Juka's eyes. Soho was also pushed back due to the energy that was emitted by Jaesin. Soho felt her back was hurt. On the other hand, Jaesin was still acting strangely due to the power of the bead. In his mind, he saw the woman in his dreams that he wanted to meet. He tried to reach out for her. However, the woman seems to be dying at that moment. The woman lay on the ground and was almost lifeless. Jaesin felt dizzy after a while of holding the bead. Then, he suddenly lost consciousness. As a result, he fell to the ground. The bead rolled to Soho as Jaesin, unaware, let go of it. She picked it up and declared that it was hers. She said that she won't give it to anyone. Right after, she put the bead into her mouth and swallowed it whole. Unaware, Juka was about to attack her. However, Soho's physical appearance changed after eating the bead. Her head wasn't cut off even if Juka struck her with the sword in her neck. He tried to strike her multiple times, but it still wouldn't hit Soho. Suddenly, he noticed that his talisman was almost gone. He felt a strange power enveloping the place, making him wonder what was happening. Then he starts to wonder if it was because of Jaesin. Juka felt troubled, thinking that he doesn't have much time. So he tried to wake up Jaesin as they needed to leave immediately. Juka said that if they stay there, they might die. He told Jaesin that they also need to take the people out of the specter's place. However, Jaesin wouldn't wake up. At the same time, Soho was transforming into its monster form. Juka felt alert after seeing Soho's appearance changing. He starts to panic because he's the only one conscious among them. He felt like going crazy because of the situation, that he was even able to smile while wondering what he should do. Even though Sokian told the man that there is no bead inside the house, the man said that he can't go back until he checks it himself. He said that he only believes what he sees with his eyes. Right after, he felt a strange energy. He turned around as it came from another place. He recognized that it was the power of a bead, so he wondered why it was reacting all of a sudden. Then, he turned around to look at Sokian. Sokian also stared at him the same way. The man asked Sokian to wait. He said that he would go check and come back. Right after, the man left in a hurry. Sokian and Hungayan were left stunned as the man left immediately. Hungayan got mad because the man left all of a sudden after all the things he did. She demanded him to come back, but he continued to run away. Afterwards, Sokian fell on the ground as she was enduring the pain for a long time. Sokian felt frustrated that she couldn't do anything except hold the man back. Thus, she starts to question how she could say that she would protect others when she can /T even properly fight one spectre. Meanwhile, in the spectre's place, Jaesin was still unconscious, and Juka felt troubled about it. At that moment, the fox spectre finally transformed into a powerful spectre. Right after, the fox starts to float in the air. Thus, Juka felt troubled. He immediately brought out a talisman and placed it where the civilians were. The talisman he used was a barrier to protect the humans. Afterwards, he also put talismans all over his body. It was the first time that he had burnt 5 talismans at once. He shouted at the fox, telling her that they should end the fight quickly. Immediately, Juka charged at the fox. The fox tried to block his attacks using her tails. Still, Juka continued to charge at her. Eventually, he managed to get close to her. But the fox quickly deflected his weapon. As the fox attacked him, one of his talismans got destroyed. However, he did not give up. He pointed his sword at him and told her to die. Even with that much determination, he couldn't handle the fox's powers. He was pushed back by the strong attack of its tail. Fortunately, he crashed on the barrier. Juka thought that he could have been in big trouble if it wasn't for the barrier. Shortly, the fox attacked him again and he dodged. He realized that it was targeting the people behind the barrier. Thus, he became furious. He told the fox that he was her opponent. With a tight grip, he held on to the monster's body. But the fox was still too strong for him. The fox pushed him easily. Juka tried to defend all of the fox's attacks with her weapon and talismans. He found the fox's tails annoying and wondered if it would be possible to escape before the time ran out. On the other hand, the man found the specter's lair. He saw the talisman, making him wonder if someone made an entrance into the barrier. Then, it made him realize that it was the reason that he felt the bead. Afterwards, he immediately went inside. He also destroyed the talisman that was put up by Juka. As a result, the entrance slowly vanished. Moreover, Juka was fighting for his life. He used up all his talismans to hold on against the fox. He was having trouble because the fox's tail was holding him off. Then, he thought of an idea for the fox not to move its tail. He sticks talismans on the fox's tail. Right after, the tails crashed to the ground. The talisman made it hard for the fox to make her tail. Thus, Juka took it as an opportunity to attack the fox. As he was about to eliminate the fox, he declared that it was over. However, someone deflected his sword. He was forced to step back because of it. To his surprise, an unknown guy appeared, who defended the fox. A palpable tension filled the air as Juka and the man locked eyes. Juka starts to question if the man was on the fox's side. Since he can feel a ghostly aura on the man, he concluded that he's not human. So, he thought that if he had to fight 2 specters, then he would have to use his last resort. However, he was surprised when the fox attacked the man. The man stepped back beside Juka because the fox attacked him. Then, the man asked Juka if he was an exorcist, because his sword won't do anything to the specter. He said that if Juka mess up and stimulate the fox, then it would just amplify the bead's power. In response, Juka pointed his sword at the man. He asked his identity and where did he suddenly come from to interfere. Juka demanded the man to talk if he didn't want to die. But the man ignored him and even said that he was annoying. Then he brought out a red bead and threw it on Juka. Juka was pushed against the wall and couldn't move. Then the man said that a human like Juka should stay out. Right after, the man told the fox to stop with her foolish deeds. He told her that the bead isn't something she can handle. However, the fox didn't listen to him and attacked him instantly. But the man was clever and immediately brought out a bead to materialize a barrier. On the other hand, Juka was getting angry because he believed that they thought little of him. He tried to fight the power that was holding him. Then he declared that he would cut all the specters. Right after, he succeeded in cutting himself. As a result, he managed to escape the man's power. On the other hand, the fox, Soho, was still attacking the man. The man realized that he can't just keep blocking Soho's attack. So, he materialized a sword and struck Soho's tail. But Soho doesn't have any reaction. Soho continued to strike the barrier until it cracked. The man was shocked as the barrier was destroyed. Then he heard Juka talk. Juka told him that he would die if he didn't avoid his attack. So the man avoided it and Juka struck Soho's tail. As a result, Soho's tail vanished. Juka continued and immediately charged at Soho. The man tried to stop him and warned him about his opponent. However, Juka didn't listen and proceeded with his attack. Soho dealt a heavy damage, taking the blow. The man was surprised that Juka was able to deal damage on the spectre. Juka attacked again and almost cut the specter's head. Seeing the specter's situation, Juka felt more determined. He attacked the spectre again with a series of blows. After a series of assaults, Soho was decapitated. The man asked Juka how a human like him could possess such power to combat the spectre. However, Juka ordered the man to shut up and warned him that he would kill him if he dared to move his mouth. The man was startled by Juka's appearance, noticing that he had the eyes of a spectre. Suddenly, they heard the spectre muttering. The spectre was not dead and was desperately clinging to the little flesh it had left. Immediately after, the spectre screamed in pain, its cry resonating with immense energy and force. Juka and the man covered their eyes as the spectre emitted a blinding light. The spectre's scream echoed throughout the area and even penetrated Juka's barrier. To their surprise, the spectre healed itself, and its body returned to its normal state. The man realized that it was the power of the bead. He explained that it was the side effect of absorbing something that wasn't meant for Soho. Juka couldn't believe the man, even when he spoke of the bead's power, as Juka had never seen anything like it before. The man clarified that it was no ordinary bead. He explained that it was a bead that had consumed 1,000 lives. Upon hearing this, Juka was filled with fear. He began to feel anxious, wondering what they should do next. Meanwhile, Soho continued to mutter that it hurt. Right after, she attempted to attack Juka. But Juka couldn't move his body and felt that his strength had completely disappeared. Fortunately, the man saved him and created a barrier. Then he told Juka that he had a proposal for him. He told Juka that if he helped him take the bead from Soho, he would help him in return. In response, Juka questioned him, asking why he should trust him. The man replied that neither of them had time to waste. He said that if they didn't separate the bead from Soho, everything in the area could be destroyed. Then he said that he could lead Juka to the exit, as he had planted traces where he had placed his talismans. However, Juka still refused to believe the words of a spectre, to which the man replied that if he didn't, they would all die. Upon hearing this, Juka began to consider the man's proposal. So, the man asked Juka if he had already agreed to the deal. In response, Juka said that he would agree. But he said that he should wait and do it after he rested for a bit. Right after, Juka's body collapsed, and he fell unconscious. The man felt troubled, wondering what he would do if Juka remained in that state. He saw that Juka was hopeless, having lost all his energy. As a result, he began to feel a bit troubled. But then, someone suddenly spoke, saying that he was wrong. To his surprise, Jaesin regained consciousness. Jaesin told the man that his method wouldn't work against Soho. The man stared at Jaesin and thought that he looked like a normal human. However, he wondered what the suspicious marking on his wrist was. On the other hand, Jaesin recalled what happened to him earlier. When he touched the bead, something strange happened to him. At that moment, he saw Soho's memories. He even saw a strange woman and a lot of dead people. There was a pile of dead people in Soho's memory. Suddenly, Jaesin uttered that Soho's aren't making a family and she /s just kidnapping people. He said that she doesn't become family by spending every day together, as making a family is by trusting each other and spending time together. While he was talking, the man stared at him and wondered if Jaesin thought that his words will go through the spectre. At the same time, the man's bead started to lose power. The man was shocked as it was too late for him to realize. When the barrier broke, he quickly pulled Juka from danger. A strange weapon also passed through him. It went towards the fox spectre. Soho blocked the weapon using his tails, which was very startled by the attack. Right after, the weapon hurled back to Jaesin. Jaesin was emitting a strange blue aura, and the color of his eyes also changed. Jaesin put down his weapon and asked Soho if she couldn't understand her words. In response, Soho tried to respond by saying that she also tried. But Soho said that no one trusted her. Her words reached the man as well when she mentioned that she wasn't trusted due to being a spectre. Then, Jaesin apologized to Soho for what she experienced, explaining that it was because everyone's weak. He told her that there are people who don't try to understand each other just because someone else is different. However, Jaesin clarified to Soho that it still wasn't the reason for her to hurt humans. But Soho said that those people didn't become her family. She shared that her grandma told her to make a family. Thus, Jaesin asked Soho why she wanted to keep her grandma's last words, which Soho couldn't respond. So, Jaesin concluded that it's because it's what her grandma said, and because she thinks that it's for the grandma that she loved. Jaesin told Soho that her grandma wished for her to find another person like her. He said that Soho's grandma thought she would feel like the only one in the world if she can't make anyone else happy, and if someone else can't make her feel happy. He told her that her grandma was worried that she would be lonely. Upon hearing this, Soho asked Jaesin if she was lonely. Jaesin responded that it was what being lonely meant. He stated that feeling lonely is like no one is by her side. With Jaesin's words, Soho started crying and saying that she misses her grandma. She whined that she wanted to see her grandma. As she cried continuously, faces of people started to appear in her body. The faces of people surrounded her body, emanating a powerful energy. She was in a frenzy, unstoppable in her rampage. The man felt troubled seeing Soho's state because it is what he was most worried about happening. So he instructed Jaesin to hurry and avoid Soho. He warned him that the bead was rampaging. Soho continued her transformation into a monster, her body becoming covered with countless faces of people. However, Jaesin remained unfazed and immediately grabbed his weapon. His weapon transformed into a sword. However, he was unaware of the transformation due to the chaos of the situation. Immediately after, Soho launched an attack on him. Jaesin blocked the attack using his sword. But the force was too strong and he was getting pushed back. The man was surprised that a human like Jaesin could block the specter's attack. Right after, Juka woke up and asked what happened. Soho continued to cry, saying that she wanted to go to her grandma. Thus, Jaesin told her to get herself together. Soho tried, but the bead's power was overpowering her. She even tried to attack Jaesin again. While Jaesin was holding her back, he told her that her grandma doesn't want what she's doing, and if her grandma sees her in that state, she would be sad. Then Soho asked Jaesin what she should do. Soho kept repeating the same question to Jaesin, asking him what she should do. At the same time, Jaesin noticed that Soho's tail was surrounding him. Juka asked the man to save Jaesin after observing the situation. However, the man said that it's too late and if he went there, he would also become a prey. Soho fully wraps around Jaesin's body. Jaesin struggled to breathe as he was squeezed inside the tail. Even so, Jaesin attempted to speak to Soho, telling her that she needed to find happiness. Because Grandma had wanted her to be happy. Jaesin urged her not to run away like that. He told her that she should begin by creating a family where trust is mutual. As he tried to speak to Soho, Jaesin reached out his hand to her. He told her that they should leave together. At that moment, Soho began to feel weak. She asked Jaesin if it was possible for her to start over. Jaesin smiled at her and told her that she could. However, he told her that she needed to apologize first to the people she had hurt. After that, Jaesin said that she would truly find a family and that her grandma would definitely be happy. Hearing Jaesin's words, Soho softened. She reached out for Jaesin's hand. At the same time, the power of the bead grew stronger. So, Juka decided to save Jaesin on his own. But unbeknownst to him, Jaesin had already pulled Soho away from the monster. Jaesin successfully pulled Soho from the monster's body, and she transformed into a little fox. After he pulled Soho out, the monster's body slowly vanished. The body ceased to exist in front of Jaesin as he carried the weakened Soho. Afterward, Jaesin felt weak and knelt to the ground. The man was speechless, while Juka wanted to know what had just happened. On the other hand, Jaesin gasped for breath as he rested. Then, he noticed the bead in front of him from before. He began to wonder about the memories he had seen after touching the bead. Right after, he gently put Soho down. Seeing Jaesin pick up the bead, Juka immediately called out to him. He demanded that Jaesin let go of the bead, leaving Jaesin confused. Juka asked Jaesin if he did not understand him, as he wasn't putting down the bead. At that moment, the bead also starts to emit a black energy. Shortly, Jaesin noticed that the bead was doing something to his body. The man immediately came to save Jaesin and tried to retrieve the bead. As the man obtained the bead, the black energy vanished. Jaesin's hand trembled after what happened. Then Juka also asked the man to put the bead down, noting that he also saw how dangerous it was. However, the man said that he would be taking the bead, leaving Juka shocked. Juka became furious and told the man not to make him laugh. The man tied Juka's hands with strings so he couldn't move. At the same time, Jaesin just realized that his weapon became a blade. The man picked up Soho and said that he would be taking her as well. He said that even if she made a big blunder, he can't just give her to humans and would send her to the spectre world and make her pay the price for what happened. Juka thought that it was ridiculous, telling the man that he should follow the human rules to obliterate the spectre because he was in the human world, which the man said that he can't allow it. Right after, he healed the unconscious humans and said that he also erased their memories. Then he opened an exit. He said that it was a door for them to return when they came. However, Juka was still furious because the man didn't want to put the bead down and told him not to ask him for help later if something bad happened. But the man said that it won't happen because the bead was originally his. Juka doesn't believe it because he discerned that the bead is the nine-tailed fox's 1,000-year bead. After his statement, the man's face turned scary. Juka felt nervous for a moment and was speechless. Jaesin was also shocked to hear that the bead is from a nine-tailed fox. Moreover, the man assured them that he won't kill humans as long as they don't annoy him. While leaving, he told them that they may meet again. He pointed out, especially for Jaesin. Right after, the man finally left. As a result, the strings holding them became loose. Then, Jaesin saw Young and immediately came to help her. On the other hand, Juka felt frustrated because he couldn't catch the fox child because of the man. Then, he wondered why a dangerous spectre like the man was wandering around in the human world, making him think that he was related to the human world's current condition. After a while, Young woke up. Her dad was still unconscious beside her. She woke up her dad and wondered why she was sleeping in the garden. Meanwhile, Juka and Jaesin were walking home, where Juka was complaining because he couldn't catch a single spectre. But Jaesin said that it's good because they saved everyone. However, Juka explained that if they let the specters live, then they would eat everything, including their family and their life's savior. Jaesin just agreed to Juka, thinking that he used to think like that before. Then he thought of Sokian. He realized that he can't let Juka meet Sokian, and he needs to leave him before returning home. So he asked Juka if he could go now that everything was over. Juka asked him where he would go because there are still things that they need to talk about. In response, Jaesin said that he personally doesn't want to talk to him. Juka brought out his glasses and said that if he wanted them back, then he should talk before leaving. Meanwhile, Sokian was telling Hungayan that she had to go. Search for Jaesin. Even if she gets chased again, Sokian said that he can make Jaesin be in danger. Suddenly, there was a loud knock on the door. Sokian immediately opened it, expecting that it was Jaesin. Unfortunately, it was the man from earlier. Hungayan cursed at the man and declared that she would put a hole in his body. But she was shocked when the man said that it was his misunderstanding. He brought out the bead and said that he had found it. Hungayan was shocked upon seeing the bead, realizing what it was. Then, Sokian told the man that there's no more reason to be between them as he found it, which the man said that's why he came to apologize. The man joked that he just misunderstood because of Sokian's face, which told him that she had a lot to hide, which made Sokian angry. Right after, the man gave Sokian an object as his apology. The man gave her a ring, which Sokian doesn't know what it's used for. Then he asked Sokian if she was hiding in the guardian god's barrier to hide her aura, which shocked Sokian as he knew. He advised Sokian to learn how to control her expressions. Afterwards, he explained that the ring would hide her aura and no one would be able to see her true self. But Sokian thinks that there's no way that it was possible. Right after, the man left and told them to let him inside the next time he comes. As he leaves, Sokian starts to stare at the ring. She thinks that it was impossible for the ring to have that sort of power. Suddenly, Hungayan told her that the man was a nine-tailed fox. She said it was a human that lived over 1,000 years and became a fox. They steal 1,000 souls and use them to make a 1,000-year bead, then become qualified through the strength to become a Taoist hermit. But for some reason, Hungayan discerned that the man doesn't seem like he became a Taoist hermit. Meanwhile, Juka was still conversing with Jaesin. He clarified to Jaesin all the things he explained, which Jaesin thought that he couldn't explain. The man felt like he was going crazy, as he couldn't believe that all the things Jaesin did was by chance. After explaining everything, Jaesin asked Juka to give him back his glasses. But before that, he asked Jaesin if he saw a spectre with his glasses, which Jaesin confirmed. So, Juka brought out a talisman and used it on the glasses. He saw that it has no substance in the human world. Then he wore it on Jaesin. However, the glasses suddenly vanished. Jaesin was shocked as the glasses suddenly disappeared. So, Juka told him to get himself together and said that if something by chance repeats itself, then it's no longer by chance. He said that it was inevitable and it was Jaesin's fate. Juka told Jaesin that he's fated to go down the same path as he was. Meanwhile, Sokian put the ring the man gave. She wondered if the man's words were true. To find out, she decided to try stepping out. As she stepped out of the house, there was no reaction from the barrier. Thus, she confirmed that the man's words were true. So, she immediately ran, making Hungayan ask her where she was going. Hungayan didn't stop her because she knew even without asking Sokian. To her surprise, the guardian tried to follow Sokian. However, the dog stopped as the guardian god can't walk out the door. Thus, she told the dog to hurry and come back inside. At that moment, the branches of the tree started growing. While heading home, Jaesin thought of what Juka told him earlier. He was reflecting on Juka's words, realizing that encountering a spectre was no longer a matter of coincidence. He recalled the words, understanding that it was inevitable and destined to be his fate. So, he starts thinking about that fate. He wondered if his fate led him all the way in that situation. And he thought that because of his fate, many people died. So, he starts to blame himself for what happened. Suddenly, someone shouted his name. He was surprised that it was Sokian. He asked Sokian how she came out, knowing that she can't leave the house. Then, he noticed the bandages on her body. Concerned, he asked her if she was hurt. But Sokian didn't respond and just hugged him, which made him speechless. Sokian told him that she was afraid that he wouldn't return. Crying and bowing her head, she apologized. She said that she had put him in danger because she was greedy. Thus, Sokian stated that she will do it by herself from now on and asked Jaesin to leave the place. But then, Jaesin recalled Juka's question, that if he had someone precious to him. Jaesin was unsure, but he was sure that there's someone he wanted to help. Then Juka told him that he had to protect them. So that person can live without being afraid, Juka stated. With Juka's statements, Jaesin starts to think of Sokian. He thought of her face and the smile she always showed him. Juka's words sank deep into him that he had to protect the world. Thus, he told Sokian that he will do it. He told her that he does want to be of help to him, and it was also for his own sake. Jaesin believed that he didn't gain that power by chance as it was an opportunity that fate gave him. So he will accept that power. He told Sokian that he would face it because it was his fate. The next day, at the Orchid's house, they were all gathered, staring at Jaesin's weapon. Hungayan asked Jaesin why the appearance of the sword suddenly changed from a stick to a sword. Jaesin said that he doesn't remember, making Hungayan curious about what exactly happened yesterday. He then mentioned that he can't go around holding the sword because he might be the main article on a news portal, which Sokian was unfamiliar with. Hungayan said that she was known as the best smith, so he should have at least one thing that would fit the sword. Then, Jaesin asked Hungayan how she keeps bringing out such big items. Hungayan explained that it was because the plaque is connected to her family's armory. Right after, she starts utilizing the plaque. Shortly, she brought out a strange object. However, Jaesin wasn't sure about it. He thought that it was too short. But Hungayan insisted that he put the blade inside. He immediately followed Hungayan, even though he doubted that it would fit. However, he was surprised when the sword actually fit on the sheath. Hungayan told him not to judge the item from the spectre world using the human world's criteria. Upon hearing her explanation, he thought about Juka's words that his glasses have no substance in the human world. Afterwards, Sokian expressed that it was a relief. She was happy that Jaesin could hide his knife, and she could now go outside. Jaesin suddenly felt flustered when he remembered the time when Sokian hugged him. So, it created an awkward feeling between them. Suddenly, he heard someone calling him outside. He recognized that the voice was Juka. So, he felt troubled because Sokian and Hungayan were there. He thought the situation was bad as he couldn't let Juka meet Sokian and Hungayan. Then, Hungayan asked Jaesin if the person outside was someone he knew, to which Jaesin couldn't respond properly. He wanted to tell them that the person they met was an exorcist he met by chance. On the other hand, Juka was getting furious because no one was opening the door. He was sure that it was Jaesin's place. But he doesn't know why his talisman fell so easily. Afterwards, he started banging the door again. He wondered if no one was home or if there were people inside, but they were just acting like no one was around. Inside, Hungayan was asking Jaesin if he had some sort of issue with the person outside because he wasn't opening the door. So, Jaesin explained that the person is an exorcist. Hungayan said that just because the man was an exorcist doesn't mean he's hostile at all. However, Jaesin doesn't agree because he knows how Juka thinks. As no one wasn't answering, Juka grew impatient. Thus, he decided to break the door and force his way in. But just when he was about to break it, the door opened and he punched Jaesin's face. With an uneasy smile, he apologized to Jaesin, whose face had just been punched. Jaesin explained to Juka that he couldn't hear him because he was in his room. Then he asked Juka how he knew where he was living, to which Juka admitted that he put a tracking talisman on him. Juka then started to observe the house. He thought that it wasn't a normal area either. Afterwards, Sokian greeted him and welcomed him, saying that she heard that she helped Jaesin. Juka was shocked to see Sokian. He thought that Jaesin were married, leaving Jaesin dumbfounded. So Jaesin clarified that he wasn't married, to which Juka asked who Sokian was. Jaesin explained that Sokian is also an exorcist. Upon hearing this, Juka felt relieved and said that it was great because he came as they needed to do something together. Hearing that, Jaesin was ready to decline, but Juka was already entering the house. Juka told Jaesin that he's quite talented and questioned that the house seemed to be a bit big for only 2 people to live in it. Jaesin explained that the house was originally a haunted house, so Juka realized that it was when Jaesin caught a spectre by chance. However, Juka thought that Jaesin is strange as usual as he always said that it's by chance. Then he noticed that there's a lot of books. He thought that he didn't really see anything suspicious, but he still felt a sense of disharmony. Suddenly, his attention was piqued as he saw Hungayan. Hungayan wasn't moving, so Juka thought that it was a doll. Jaesin was shocked that Juka was interested in Hungayan, so he just explained to him that he just received it as a gift. However, Juka's response seemed like he didn't believe Juka. He told Jaesin that he's hiding the obvious and his excuse wouldn't work on him. So Jaesin felt troubled, wondering what he should do as Juka seemed to find out. Much to his surprise, Juka realized that he had a fondness for cute things. Juka was left speechless, not expecting that he would say something like that. Juka asked Jaesin why he would conceal something like that, since he believed he could understand everything. While holding Hungayan, Juka told Jaesin that it's possible for people to like cute things, to which Jaesin replied, asking if he perhaps liked cute things himself. The question left Juka speechless and embarrassed. Feeling embarrassed, Juka was reassured by Jaesin, who told him that it's perfectly normal for people to like cute things. Afterwards, Juka introduced himself formally, mentioning that he was affiliated with Yonghwa. Then, Sokian also introduced herself to Juka, telling him her name. He was still holding Hungayan, whom he believed to be a doll, as he asked them to please take care of him. Jaesin and Sokian felt anxious when Juka mentioned that knowing a lot of exorcists is beneficial. He remarked that it's beneficial because many specters tend to appear around there. At the same time, Hungayan was signaling to Jaesin to get Juka out of there, but Jaesin didn't know what to do. Then, Juka said that he had come to receive some help, as they were colleagues. He shared that lately, the number of specters in the area had been increasing, and it seemed like it was something that started around that time. The time he mentioned was about 100 years ago, when there was a distortion in the human world. He mentioned that earthquakes had become more frequent, and that eventually this would lead to a crack forming in the human world, which would serve as a door for the specters to enter. Judging by the frequency, Juka believed that it was spreading with the promised Orchid as the center. He said that he wanted to patrol and take a look around the area, but he didn't have any colleagues to join him. That's why he wanted Jaesin to lend him his strength. Jaesin apologized and tried to decline, but Sokian said that they would help. Sokian said that if it was for the well-being of the town, then of course it needed to be done. Jaesin was shocked and signaled to Sokian that Juka was the person who catches specters. On the other hand, Juka said that he liked Sokian because she was quite generous. Then, Juka suggested that they should go at night so there would be no delay. Meanwhile, in the specter world, there was an old man calling the name Gamach in the dark path. It was a monster, and it told him that it had sensed traces of that person for a moment. Thus, he asked the old man if he should report to the Golden Crown. The man declined and said that they couldn't let the Golden Crown be bothered. Then, he instructed the monster to gather the specters. Unknown to Jaesin and his companions, danger was already lurking and drawing closer to them. Sokian listened closely to Juka as he recounted the events that took place the other day in the Fox Burrow. Meanwhile, Jaesin remained anxious. Sokian and Juka continued to get along because of Juka's stories. Jaesin, on the other hand, thought that he needed to stop Sokian from talking with Juka, but there's no opportunity for him to talk with her separately. Hungayan was also staring at Jaesin. She was irritated by the fact that Juka wasn't letting go of her. Jaesin tried to avoid her gaze because he also didn't know how to make Juka leave the house. Eventually, he mustered his courage and asked Juka to return the doll. Juka believes that Jaesin treasured it so much, but he asked him to overlook it for that day since he was a guest. Suddenly, he noticed something on the doll. He noted that it looks very well made. He thinks that it must have taken a lot of time to make it, considering its beautiful embroidery. Jaesin anxiously explained that he doesn't know the details since he just received it as a gift. Moreover, Juka also noticed the plaque behind Hungayan, saying that it's perfectly made. On the other hand, Hungayan was shocked that Juka was touching her artifact. She couldn't endure it anymore, so she jumped out from Juka's hand. Hungayan shouted at Juka for touching her body. At the same time, Jaesin and Sokian were shocked as Hungayan just revealed herself. Then, Juka realized that Hungayan was a spectre. Hungayan felt troubled as she just realized what she did. Thus, Hungayan tried to apologize, but Juka was already mad that they deceived him. He sat up and said that he knew it because he also felt something was off when he felt a strange energy. With a fierce look, Juka demanded Jaesin to answer if it's specters in the house. Sweat dripped from Jaesin's body as he sat up and tried to explain to Juka. However, Juka already drew his weapon. Juka was disappointed in himself that he should have sensed what he didn't sense at all. He didn't expect that there was a spectre in the house that was hidden away without a trace. In the end, he concluded that there's a barrier in the house. Jaesin then thought that the situation's atmosphere where he could simply let the issue blow over. Moreover, Juka advised Jaesin that he shouldn't be too affectionate towards specters. He reminded Jaesin what he told him the other day, that specters could even hurt his family. Raising his weapon, Juka stated that Jaesin will thank him later for what he's going to do even if he doesn't understand it at the moment. When Juka tried to attack Hungayan, Jaesin blocked it with his sword. Juka demanded Jaesin to move, but Jaesin wasn't listening to him. Thus, Juka asked Jaesin if he was planning to defend the spectre. He mentioned that it was a spectre that kills people, leaving Socheon anxious. In response, Jaesin said that he wasn't doing it for the specters, as he's protecting Hungayan because she's a friend. Then, Juka asked Jaesin if he would forgive the specter's actions just because she's a friend. Jaesin said that he would at least talk with the spectre first about their actions, and then make a decision. He said that just because someone says that they're a spectre and they're a human, is the kind of reason that he hates the most. At that time, Jaesin was reminded of the memories of his young self, where he encountered a spectre. The spectre demanded Jaesin to answer if he was a human, and it would kill him because he was a human. Sokian also intervened and helped Jaesin hold off Juka, leaving Juka surprised. Juka was in disbelief that they're all ganging up on them, which made them ask if they wanted to settle their fight at the moment. Suddenly, the guardian dog started barking, making Juka's attention turn to him. He found it strange because the dog wasn't there when he entered earlier. Then, Hungayan guessed that there were specters outside. Juka asked if they called specters to help fight with them. But Jaesin clarified that they don't get along with the other specters. Then, Jaesin mentioned to Juka about the thing he mentioned earlier, that he needed a colleague. Outside the house, there are a lot of specters wearing red cloth. Juka thought of what Jaesin said. Then he lowered his sword. He agreed to have a short ceasefire. Meanwhile, the specter outside felt strange because he couldn't sense any traces of the person that they're trying to find, when he just thought that it's definitely in that location. Then, he ordered one of his slaves to open the door. The man immediately followed and headed towards the door, touching it barely. When he touched the door, Jaesin was frightened by the loud sound that occurred. Juka and Sokian also felt wary as they heard the sound. Then, Hungayan guessed that the specters intended to come in by breaking the door. Jaesin tried to act calm, thinking that everything's going to be fine as long as Belly was there, referring to the dog. But he was curious how the specters came and found the house, thinking if they had sensed something. Juka said that it was the problem of the house. He said that one can't sense something, and he also found the area unpleasant. He asked Jaesin if he agreed that other people would be interested in that house for some reason. As Jaesin couldn't answer, Juka thinks that Jaesin now understands the severity of the problem. Juka said that even if Belly is amazing, if the house becomes the specter's target, then Belly won't be able to block all the attacks. The specter that tried to open the door was electrocuted by the barrier, causing its hand to explode. Seeing their comrade die, the remaining specters became shocked. They all started to worry, wondering what happened with the specter. Meanwhile, the old man concluded that the person they're trying to find was inside, as there was a barrier. Thus, he told the specters that they're going to break the barrier and go in. However, the specters felt hesitant seeing one of them had died just because of trying to open the door. The old man noticed that they weren't moving, so he urged them to go again. But the specters aren't listening to him because of the fear of dying. The old man got mad, saying that they're useless and they should do their part since there are a lot of them. As the man didn't have any choice left, he brought out a strange bell. The specters were hypnotized instantly as they saw and heard the bell. Due to the effect of the bell, the specters became aggressive. They started to transform into their monster form. The old man shouted that they should be proud that all of them are specters. Inside the house, the power of the barrier that was holding the specters could be seen. Thus, Jaesin thought that there's no other way but to fight, because it was the only house where he could live for free. With a grin, Juka promised to help Jaesin, but casually added he'd let him off the hook if he accidentally wrecked the house a little, prompting Jaesin to yell that he can't do that. Then, Hungayan also prepared to fight the specters, but Jaesin disagreed and told her to hide until he told her to come out. Hungayan was stunned, but Jaesin was more worried about her being the one the specters were actually after. Jaesin picked Hungayan's tiny body, which Hungayan demanded him to let her go. Suddenly, loud sounds occurred again. To their surprise, numerous specters are trying to enter the barrier. They were trying to jump at the wall, but the barrier electrocuted them. Juka was stunned as he didn't expect that many specters would try to break in. Distracted by the other specters, Jaesin let Hungayan escape from his grasp. Meanwhile, Sokian continued to stare at the specters. She seemed to be familiar with them. When she thought of something in mind, she couldn't believe it was true. Seeing the gravity of the situation, Jaesin suggested they trust Belly and wait inside until the specters ran out of strength. However, Juka said that the other specters might still come there no matter how the situation ends. If Belly's barrier completely breaks, then something worse could happen later. As Juka was telling them to find out why the specters came, Sokian fell silent. She was guilty because she knew that the specters had come for her. Right after, Jaesin decided to come out and face the specters. Juka and Jaesin headed to the door together, and Hungayan quickly insisted on joining them as well. However, they ignored her. But she was persistent and didn't want to sit still and do as told. So she planned to come with Juka. The specters kept trying to break in, but they failed multiple times already. The old man started to feel troubled, noticing that it was quite a sturdy barrier. However, he still didn't give up, confident that it wouldn't overcome their sheer numbers. Suddenly, he noticed someone open the door. Jaesin came out from the door, holding his sword. Jaesin went in position and prepared his weapon for any danger. Seeing Jaesin, the specters got more aggressive. They immediately charged at Jaesin without hesitation. But as they were charging, their heads were suddenly cut off by an unexpected attack. Juka was on top of the walls, showing the specters a grin as he cut off the specters. Seeing the number of specters, Juka also felt excited, thinking that his record would definitely increase after fighting a lot of them. Then he tried to find the leader, seeing many specters coming. As he scanned the specters, one of the crowd wearing a cape caught at the center caught his attention. Thus, he called the old man. Then he leaped towards the man. The specters looked up as he was heading towards the old man. Juka targeted the old man, concluding that he was their leader. But when was about to strike the old man, a big specter blocked his attack. It was a massive specter compared to all the specters that were trying to break in. With its glowing red eyes, the specter looked like a feral boar on the loose. Seeing those fiery red eyes, Juka could only manage a shaky smile, sweat sliding down his face. The boar raised his weapon and was poised to attack Juka. Thus, Juka immediately realized its intention. The boar attacked him, swinging its massive weapon at him. Fortunately, Juka dodged the weapon. If he didn't dodge it, he would be the one to be crushed by the boar's massive weapon. Juka felt a shiver run down his spine as he watched the boar's weapon smash into the specter's body, leaving it utterly crushed. Immediately, the boar attacked him again. The boar swung its weapon multiple times and Juka managed to avoid it. Juka was shocked as he didn't expect the boar would be that fast. The loud noise from Jaesin's house echoed throughout the neighborhood. The neighbors began to wonder about the source of the sound. However, a man instructed his wife to remain silent and act as if she hadn't heard it. He said it was obvious what was happening if something occurred at that time. The neighbors also warned their family members not to go outside because they didn't know anything. They didn't want to risk the chance of selling their house at a good price and leaving the town. On the other hand, Jaesin was also fighting the specters. The specter was biting on his sword, and his sword suddenly illuminated. As a result, the specter was forced to let go of his bite from the sword. Thus, Jaesin thinks that even if he has no skills, he could do it with the help of his weapon. However, he still had doubts if they could block them because there are still too many. He chose to fight again, thinking that his sword will do it all for him. Unknown to him, there was a spectre behind him that was already about to attack. Thankfully, Sokian arrived and kicked the spectre in the face. Sokian moved swiftly and attacked the specters that were trying to harm Jaesin. While she was fighting, she moved gracefully like a butterfly, almost as if dancing, as she avoided the specters' attacks. After taking care of some of them, Sokian returned to Jaesin's side. Jaesin thanked Sokian for having his back, which he also thought in mind that she was amazing. Sokian told Jaesin not to be afraid because those specters are only on the level of ordinary humans. Sokian confirmed that those specters are Gamach's followers. Then, she revealed to Jaesin that she had seen those specters become aggressive after hearing the sound of the toad's bell before. They just need to find the toad spectre and release them from the hypnosis so that they could stop them. Sokian asked Jaesin to wait for her while she dealt with the toad. Jaesin was shocked when Sokian casually jumped from one spectre to another. After that, the spectre charged at Jaesin again. On the other hand, Juka was still dealing with the boar. The toad spectre then realizes that Juka was an exorcist. So, he continued to ring the bell and ordered the specters to break the barrier. As the bell rings, the specters become more aggressive than before. Jaesin was frightened by the numbers of specters charging at him, but he became ready to confront them. To his surprise, the specters didn't attack him and went towards the door. They were trying to break the barrier. Meanwhile, the toad spectre continued to hide behind the other specters. He thought that if it were not for the marriage ceremony, he would have all turned them into nutrients. To his surprise, a human suddenly appeared in front of him. Sokian believes that the toad spectre would recognize her once he saw her hairpin. So before he recognizes her, she has to hit him in one moment. But a spectre suddenly came in front of the toad spectre, blocking her target. The spectre pushed Sokian away from the toad. It defended the toad and landed beside him. Fortunately, Sokian was able to maintain her balance and hid her hairpin from the toad. The toad starts to wonder if Sokian was an exorcist as it felt like he had seen her somewhere. On the other hand, Juka placed talismans on the boar's weapon. The talisman he used made the boar's weapon heavier. Juka jumped from the boar's weapon and mocked it for not being able to lift its weapon. Then he whipped its head multiple times with his weapon. Juka mocked the boar that it's all brawn and no brain. However, he was astonished when he saw the boar blocking his weapon. He tried to retrieve it, but he saw the boar holding tightly on it. The boar pulled his weapon, causing him to be pulled also because he was holding on to it. Juka flew in the sky as the boar swayed his weapon. Then the boar tried to lift his weapon even with the talismans on top of it. Juka was shocked that the boar managed to lift the weapon even with the talismans on. Right after, the boar pulled Juka closer. The boar readied his weapon as Juka drew nearer to him. Juka felt shiver, seeing the boar was going to hit him with its massive weapon. He called the boar crazy, but in his mind, he thought that he was really going to die. Unexpectedly, someone attacked the boar at the right time. Hungayan excitedly made an appearance, firing at the boar with her guns. As a result, the boar suffered damage due to Hungayan's bullets. Juka was also able to avoid death thanks to Hungayan. Then, he asked Hungayan how long he was there, to which Hungayan responded that he should thank her later. Even with Hungayan's attack, Juka noticed that the boar was still alive. On the other hand, Sokian was still dealing with the spectre that was protecting the toad. The situation deteriorates as the specters continue to attempt breaking through the barrier. The guardian dog was clearly struggling, its body shaking as it fought to hold off the specters from breaking in. At that moment, the barrier began to weaken. Hungayan then ordered Juka to charge, but Juka doesn't like her ordering him around. Right after, Juka charged at the boar. While he was running towards it, Hungayan fired at the boar. The boar was distracted because of Hungayan's attack, but it still tried to attack them with its massive weapon. Unknown to the boar, Juka was already on top of him. Juka wrapped his weapon in his hand and prepared to strike the boar. The boar's head began to deteriorate as Juka struck it with a punch. However, it still refused to go down. Juka quipped that it was an incredibly stubborn blockhead. So, he delivered multiple punches to its head. The toad spectre simply observed as the battle raged on. The spectre guarding him was still locked in combat with Sokian at that moment. As the toad spectre scanned the surroundings, it remarked that there was a lot of interference. He urged them to hurry up before his hands and feet shrank, referencing how people tend to shrink as they age. Suddenly, he sensed something hurtling toward him. An unknown force struck him, sending him flying backward. Everyone was surprised to see the toad being attacked, causing them to halt what they were doing. The toad specter's clothes were torn off as it tried to block the attack with its arms. Right after, Jaesin called the toad a frog. He ordered him to hurry and stop the specters. He warned that if they continued attacking the house, he would die. The toad thought Jaesin was being impudent for a mere human, but he didn't expect Jaesin to throw his weapon at him. Thus, the toad was shocked when the weapon scraped his cape. The sword struck the toad multiple times, and the toad begged Jaesin to stop. Left with no choice, the toad ordered the specters to stop moving. As a result, all the specters stood frozen, not moving an inch. Juka was impressed by the sight of Jaesin capturing the leader. On the other hand, Jaesin continued to keep his sword pointed at the toad. The toad was in disbelief that an exorcist like Jaesin could possess such remarkable swordsmanship. Afterward, Jaesin decided to retrieve his sword. However, the toad suddenly grabbed the sword with its tongue. Jaesin struggled to retrieve it as the toad gripped the sword tightly with its tongue. Suddenly, the toad vanished right in front of him. It appeared closer and said that it could just take the sword, ensuring Jaesin couldn't use it. However, the sword began reacting to the toad's actions. The toad was surprised when the sword started striking him. He didn't expect the sword to still attack him, even though he was definitely grabbing it. Jaesin simply stared at the sword as it attacked the toad, then apologized, saying that the sword just wanted to hit him. The toad couldn't let go of the sword because it kept attacking him relentlessly. So he brought out his bell. Seeing the bell, Sokian felt an urge to help Jaesin. She warned Jaesin to avoid it because he can't look at the bell. Sokian immediately ran towards Jaesin. She avoided the specter that was helping the toad. Then she brought out her hairpin, aiming to help Jaesin before he got hypnotized. But she was too late. Jaesin was already hypnotized by the bell. At the same time, Sokian was attacked from behind. The specter scratched her as she turned her back on him. As a result, Sokian fell to the ground, weakened. The toad was shocked to see Sokian, along with their hairpin beside her. Concerned, Hungayan shouted Sokian's name. She was angry because Jaesin was just standing there, not helping Sokian. When she was about to converse with Juka, Juka's eyes were blunt because he was also hypnotized by the bell. So, she started firing his face so he would wake up from being hypnotized. Juka cried as Hungayan hurt him, but Hungayan just reminded him to be careful as he almost got hypnotized. Afterwards, the barrier finally broke. Juka and Hungayan were shocked to see the barrier falling. The guardian dog's body has weakened. Shortly, it couldn't bear to stand up anymore. As a result, the house's barrier vanished in an instant. Silence enveloped them as the barrier had completely vanished. Sokian couldn't do anything and just stared as the barrier fades. Suddenly, a branch near the house's wall started to act strange. This sudden event left everyone in awe, anticipating what would happen. To their surprise, the branch turned into an old man specter. The toad's bell continued to have an effect on Jaesin. At that moment, he saw his younger self. He was running away, while a voice was asking him what he was afraid of. The voice was telling him that the one in front of him is the very thing. The specter told him that if the person in front of him was gone, then he could be liberated from his fear. The young Jaesin was frightened upon seeing the person in front of him. So, he ran away like what every young child would do. However, the specter asked him how long he planned to run away. Recognizing the voice, Jaesin turned and looked at the specter. The specter was a figure dressed in an unusual mask and cloak. That specter asked the young Jaesin what he was afraid of. At the moment, Jaesin wasn't moving from his place and was staring blankly at the ground. Sokian stared at him and noticed that he was acting strange. But she was bothered by something else. She was gazing at the man who had just appeared. The man who just appeared was the specter, Gamach, that Jaesin and Sokian defeated in the beginning. Gamach fell on his knees after changing back to his original form. The sight of the god caused him to lose all his strength. At the same time, Juka had defeated the massive boar specter. He wondered where the Gamach suddenly came from. On the other hand, Hungayan felt familiar with the person. As Gamach had weakened, he felt the need to stock up strength with a more ghostly aura. Sokian then felt hopeless after seeing Gamach. Suddenly, Gamach starts to bring out branches from the ground. The branches crawled to the other specters. Unexpectedly, it attacked them as they are going to the nutrients for Gamach to regain his strength. The branches devoured the specters. Seeing the gravity of the situation, Sokian warned Jaesin to avoid the branches. Sokian can't move properly because of her injury. Thus, she could only wait for the branches to devour her as well. However, she was surprised when the branches avoided her. Sokian realizes that it avoided her because of the ring that she was wearing. On the other hand, the toad begged Gamach not to eat him as the branches were already about to attack him. One of the specters carried him as Gamach wasn't listening to him. The branches also avoided Jaesin, who was still staring blankly. It also devoured the massive boar that Juka defeated. Suddenly, Hungyan saw that it was about to attack her. Fortunately, Juka grabbed it and saved her. Juka realized that it was only targeting creatures with a ghostly aura. Upon hearing this, Hungyan suddenly remembered something. She recalled that Gamach is a follower of the Golden Crown, which raises nutrients to strengthen species. She heard that Gamach was at the border of the human world, but she didn't expect to see him there. To her surprise, Juka seemed furious when she mentioned the Golden Crown. All the specters that were caught by Gamach had their flesh devoured, and only bones were left of them. The toad specter was relieved to escape Gamach. He believed that Gamach is someone with no sympathy. After devouring numerous specters, Gamach felt that he recovered to some degree, so he immediately wanted to find Sokian. Suddenly, symbols started to appear around them. The symbol circled around Gamach. Juka uttered some words in a different language as he activated his powers. After speaking the words, a powerful energy struck Gamach. The toad specter became worried, shouting Gamach's name. However, Gamach remained unharmed as he shielded himself with branches. But even with the branches covering him, a light seeped through, illuminating the branches. Juka shattered the barrier that was trapping Gamach inside. He asked Gamach where that person was, but Gamach had no idea who he was referring to. Then, Gamach began to counter Juka's attack. To defend himself, Gamach placed a talisman on his weapon. His weapon transformed into a barrier, allowing him to block Gamach's branches. Gamach was surprised, not expecting an exorcist's skill to be so impressive. Suddenly, he saw a light peeking through the barrier. The barrier shattered, and Juka emerged from within it. Juka launched a powerful surge of energy at Gamach. Thus, Gamach was pushed back by the intense force of the attack. However, he didn't take any damage as he blocked the attack with his arm. Then he asked Juka who he was. Juka replied that Gamach didn't need to know and demanded that he tell him where the Golden Crown was. Gamach then asked what he was talking about. Hungyan also questioned how a human like Juka could know about the Golden Crown. She thought that there shouldn't be any humans left alive after encountering the Golden Crown. On the other hand, Sokian watched them and thought to herself that she couldn't afford to stay dazed. She hoped that if she could just buy even a small amount of time. She hoped that, even if it was only Jaesin, she had to make sure he escaped from that place. Suddenly, the toad specter recalled the hairpin Sokian was holding. He realized that the person in front of him was none other than Sokian. At that moment, Sokian was completely focused on Jaesin. Jaesin, on the other hand, seemed to be out of sorts, visibly annoyed by everything happening around him. The young Jaesin trembled in fear after seeing the specter in front of him. The specter thought that Jaesin finally remembered, making it seem like there are some people capable of keeping his mind together. However, the specter told Jaesin that it won't be peaceful if he keeps hiding him. He told Jaesin not to try so hard because he won't change either way. So the specter asked Jaesin to hurry and grab his hand and kill them, which Jaesin declined. Jaesin doesn't want to accept the specter's help because he killed the director. He kept blaming the specters that he killed people. Then, he fiercely looked at the man and stated that he and the specters are all monsters. As he said that, the man just grinned. On the other hand, Gamach was in disbelief that a mere human like Juka dares to carelessly speak the Golden Crown. Thus, he threatened Juka that he won't be leaving alive. Suddenly, the toad specter informed him that Sokian was there. Gamach was astonished to hear the news. He thought that Sokian was just a human because he didn't sense anything at all. Moreover, Juka called Gamach, asking him about the Golden Crown, which Gamach found annoying. So, he unleashed branches to attack Juka. He captured Juka with the branches. Then, he went straight to confront Sokian. He told her that he would let her live because the Golden Crown needs her. Gamach saw Jaesin and remembered that he was the reason that Sokian ran away from him. So, he attacked Jaesin without hesitation. Sokian begged Gamach to stop. Right after, the cage he built exploded. Hungyan set off a bomb and exploded the branch that was holding them, which startled Juka. Hungyan told Juka to shut up, as he was still alive because of her explosives. Afterwards, Juka attacked Gamach. He tried to capture him by using his weapon to tie him. Then Sokian pointed his weapon at Gamach. Sokian asked Gamach to stop with his actions. She said that she wouldn't just stand by if he's going to hurt Jaesin. However, Juka told her that she can't kill Gamach as he has something to ask him. At the same time, Hungayan wondered what would happen if Juka finds out that Sokian is a spectre. She thought it's best to keep it a secret from Juka at the moment. But Gamach told Juka that it seems that he was deceived. Hungayan was shocked as she was just planning to keep it a secret from Juka that Sokian was a spectre. Furthermore, Gamach threatened Sokian that she would never be able to find her remains if she tried to kill him. He asked Sokian if her remains did not matter to her anymore. Thus, Sokian starts to think about what Gamach said. Shortly, she told Gamach to spare Jaesin, then she would obediently follow him. In response, Gamach promised not to hurt Jaesin. With that said, Sokian slowly lowered her weapon. Upon seeing that, Hungayan told Juka that they should interfere. But Juka told her to shut up, then asked if Sokian is a spectre. He said that he won't move even a footstep if Hungayan doesn't properly answer. Meanwhile, Gamach ordered the toad spectre to leave Jaesin. However, he instructed him to take Juka to offer him the golden crown, leaving Sokian shocked. Gamach told Sokian that her threat didn't work on him. He said that she was pitiful because she still has a human heart, which made his expectations for her decrease. However, he said that the golden crown may purify her once again. Then, the toad tried to release Jaesin from being hypnotized, but he wasn't reacting. He tried again, instructing Jaesin to follow him. Unbeknownst to him, Jaesin had already severed the connection. The toad slowly becomes aware of it and begins to feel his body. Jaesin told the toad to get lost and questioned where it was putting its foul-smelling face. The others witnessed what Jaesin did and were surprised by his sudden actions. At the same time, a spectre was about to strike him. However, Jaesin effortlessly avoided it. Then he sliced through the spectre's body, effortlessly dispersing it as if it were nothing. Sokian were shocked, witnessing Jaesin eliminating the spectre. Unbeknownst to them, Jaesin had changed, and it seemed like he was unaware of it.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to contribute further, you can now buy me a coffee. Every little bit helps in creating more quality content for you. Just click the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description below. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video.